up. I don't know why it's not syncing. That really bothers me.
It's sinking. It's sinking. I like this
God,
gap here. Get all
just
this way.
doesn't want it.
But yeah, as I was saying, I had to fix the salon uh, computer because the operating system crashed. And let me tell you, HP does not make it easy to to fix a operating system. But yeah,
All right, so you didn't know I was gonna. I'm gonna sit here because you don't want me too close to it. How's that? Fine.
yeah. That's, I just have to move you over a little bit on the vertical. We're kind of doing this one a little half-assed. So anyway, how's the week been now that you're gone and you're not with your favorite son anymore?
It's been boring without you, Chris.
I know,
Boring,
I know.
pressing.
Has it just been kind of like relaxation time, just doing nothing, or?
No, Dad always runs the house pretty well, but no, just trying to get caught up with things. I don't know. As of right now, I'm here tomorrow, but I have jury duty this upcoming week.
Oh, that's gonna be sick. You know, the easiest
Well,
way to get out of jury duty is just to tell people, tell them that you, like you have a bias.
hate all
Yeah,
people.
just
Yeah.
say, yeah, just do
Well,
that.
I don't mind doing jury duty. It just happened to be a week, which there's never going to be a good week, so I don't mind doing it. Um, I guess of all weeks, this was probably one of the better ones. Get it, do it. I
Right.
had to defer it last year because of your grandmother. But as of right now, I'm told I don't have to report on Monday. Fingers crossed they don't need any of us this coming week, and we're good for another year. So that's how it works.
Oh, is that really how that works? Damn. I got out of
Yes.
jury duty once just because I was moving. That was really it.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
hoping I don't get asked for a while.
yeah. As I said, I don't mind it as Pettiture, so it's right in Somerville, which is close to us.
I want a murder. I want a straight. I want the worst of the worst. I want to be like, uh, I want to feel like I'm in CSI, like one of those CSI.
Well, you say that until you get sequestered, and now it's not a week. You're tied up in a room
Yeah,
for a month.
month. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do I at least get
That's my
snacks?
fear.
Do they give me snacky booze?
I know they feed you, and there's a great show. I think it's on Netflix called The Juror,
Right.
where they create a whole fake trial, fake judge, fake everything. The only person who doesn't know is one juror, and they make him the head juror, and it's really very funny. It's not many, like 7 seasons, and everybody else is in on it. They even have James Marsden, the actor, as himself in it because it takes place in California. He comes for jury duty. So I recommend it. It's kind of funny. It's short. It's not a long series. And then at the end, they surprise the guy that, this has all been fake. That's how well they did. He's really shocked. And then they gave him a money prize at the end, which was really nice.
Right.
But I say that because you never know until you actually get stuck.
Yeah, it's a good. I don't really watch those kind of shows, as you know, but it sounds like a neat concept. But
Well, they ripped it off on Joe Schmo, so now there's a new series out called Joe Schmo, where they're doing one of those contests where you physical contests with obstacle courses and all sorts of challenges. I haven't seen it, but everybody is in on it except for one guy, Joe Schmo, which is
oh,
for the guy who's being taken advantage, if you will, Joe Schmo. So I haven't watched it, but to me, it's the same concept. So I already kind of got it from the juror. I don't need to watch it again. But it's pretty funny when you see how people they take it seriously, and then you have the people talking in the background about how bad they feel that they're doing this.
yeah.
Everybody was really
I
nice
have not
about
had the
it.
time for TV. I wish I've been trying to find shows to watch, but there's really just no time right now. I've just been
Yeah,
fixing shit. I've been doing stuff with the neighbors. I've been in 4 girls' nights so far. So
spreading yourself a little thin.
yeah, yeah, a little bit. I mean, Mom, it's a nightmare. It's
Yeah,
so
well,
much work.
you
What's
can say no to people if you
I
have
can't.
to.
I can't. Oh,
It's
let me turn
okay
that
to
off.
say no.
Yeah. So
Nothing wrong with
for the live podcast, we'll do this how we normally do it. We'll do our usual news articles and stuff, and then we can answer any questions that people have at
I
the
got
end.
you beautiful shoes. Remember you said you needed some nice work loafers?
Oh, this is the.
Buddy,
Oh, was Bo
because
down there?
Bobo.
What's Dad
Yeah,
doing? Is Dad just watching TV?
napping.
I told Dad, I was like, Dad, you're gonna have to. Well, Dad, I hope Dad does the podcast when he's down here next month. We should do a podcast where it's you, me, Dad, and then whoever else is here, if we could.
Can? Well, I'll be watching Grandma. So I have
Get
to
G
be
in. Grandma can do that, but
you'll reel her in. You started to ask me. Oh, yeah. So I got you some really nice Cole and Haan black loafers. They're 10.5. So I hope that fits you.
It should. What you call me big feet? Like what are you?
Well, they tend to be narrow,
The hell, ma?
and you're a complainer. So the only issue is you have to try them on within 30 days. So we have to get down there a certain time so I can return them if they don't fit or if you don't like them. But I just happened to go into Nordstrom on a lark and I looked and I go, oh, these are really nice. Cole Haan are really nice shoes. So
Just
anyhow.
went for it. Yeah. All right. Anyway, Mom, we've had a pretty crazy. What is this? The second week of Trump's presidency. Now, can we talk about Kash Patel? Can we talk about Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr.? It has been nuts in the freaking in these
It's been
hearings.
so busy, but not even that stuff seems to be the
I
priority
know.
anymore.
Plus the two planes that have gone down in 2 days. Like, what the hell's going on?
I think it's actually more, but the two that we know about, yeah, it's been every time I click on the news, like, what is going on now in this world? What the heck? But yeah, so they're still talking about that accident in DC. And I just saw the one in Pennsylvania.
Right.
That was a small aircraft, a small plane in Pennsylvania. Fell out of the sky at 6:30 p.m. on January 31st in Cranston. You know, Philadelphia has those row houses.
Yeah. Normally, guys, we would have the articles up, but because we're doing the vertical as well, doing shorts and we won't post them tonight because it'll just throw everything off. But yes, which is this one, Mom, that you?
Well, this is the Pennsylvania crash. Six
you send
people
me this?
died. I think it was. I think they were. I don't know if they were from this country, but there was a young girl. I think she was
Oh.
getting medical treatment or going to some medical type of event. I didn't read the whole background story. To keep in mind, there's like, especially the DC crash. There's a million links and stories out there. I can't read them all, so I try and hit a couple to get a gist of what happened.
Right.
And honestly, I can't. I mentioned the DC one, but I know you're probably going to ask questions. But I don't think we know enough yet. I still don't think they know enough to even talk about it
Yeah.
at this point.
How do you feel about now? I'm confused by which one's which, but right, that one went down in the water, and one reporter was like, "Trump, can you go? Like, are you going to visit the site?" And he's like, "What do you want me to do? Swim?"
Yeah.
Right? So, but everyone's kind of giving him shit for his response. I don't know if you saw this, but
Well, I felt like I don't know if he intentionally got out in front of it because he didn't want them to start blaming him. Oh, already we're having FFA issues in the Trump administration. But I felt like he got out of it a little bit, got in front of it a little too early, making comments about it and suggesting that there's something not right. Now, I'm not saying the president's necessarily wrong, but I just kind of feel like he jumped the gun. It was literally that day. he was
yeah,
making
it's
comments
a little
about it.
yeah, it was a little weird to say. I mean, he's not wrong. It's like the most logical answer, right? What's he gonna do?
Yeah.
Swim? Do you want him to get on a boat and waste half a day to go out there and check it out?
Well,
But
I mean, before that, his comments about the crash, that something's not right here. That helicopter was too high, and why are they in such a busy area? So I just felt he did a little too much of a deep dive on day one,
right.
where I think he's president now. Don't get crazy. Take a step back, take a breath, and let the underlings, deal with it, and then make your comments. Other than the requisite, we feel really, truthfully, we feel very badly for all involved. It's
of
very
course.
sad. It's should never happen. Blah blah blah. But yeah, I've seen the video from different angles. We're not really quite sure what happened yet. One of the more interesting people, Senator Duckworth, the one she's lost 2 legs and I think part of her arm.
Yes.
Democrat. She
Yep.
tends to be a little bit anti-Trump and anti-anything conservative, but she was a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. That's how she was, where
Injured.
she in the war. Yeah. And she made some comments about it, saying that if those 3 pilots for the helicopter must be experienced because they wouldn't let them fly in that area, and it's very well lit, so she wasn't kind of inferring they shouldn't have had night vision goggles. There's something and they were practicing some sort of like an extrication in case of an emergency to get somebody out of DC, which is a little suspicious. But having said that, I mean, it's just epic failure of what happened. Something like some people are saying, why couldn't they just see it? Were they not paying attention? What's
Right.
really weird is that we know the 2 male pilots, but they didn't officially release the female pilot's name because the family asked not to, which is very unusual. But her name I just saw an article with her name tonight, so somebody did some digging and figured it out, I guess. And it's also
Go ahead.
dredging up all these things about the FAA. And
That's what I was going to ask. Because they keep saying right now. So what's interesting is apparently a week ago they said that Trump was what was it? He froze all FFA somethings, but then that ended up being false. Like the FFA was the one thing that was excluded.
Funding maybe, or
I don't know if it was funding or something about employment. It's been a bit, but
yes, well, he's doing a lot of firing of a lot of extra people, especially DEI hires, people that have been hired that for no other reason, like they're not the best qualified. So he's doing different things in different areas, and it's ugly, but it needed to be done. These groups are just so bloated with people that, especially now that they have made us aware of the DEI policies.
yeah, they're kind of ridiculous.
Right, and articles, or I was reading an article, it's part of the group, the FAA diversity website. They specifically say on there, we're going to hire targeted people with targeted disabilities, hearing impaired, vision impaired, missing extremities, partial paralysis, complete paralysis, epilepsy, okay? Severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric, and dwarfism. Now, obviously, dwarfism, maybe missing extremities, some degree of paralysis isn't going to make or break you as an air traffic controller,
Right.
but epilepsy,
Yeah,
severe,
that might be a pretty that might be one you might want to take a rain check on.
somebody needs to really clarify with all these accidents that we've just had in 1 week, what's going on in the FAA are the best, and maybe none of these people are in those particular positions.
Right.
But I've heard stories and I've seen articles. I think the New York Times wrote one about how many of the air traffic controllers are going to work drunk or are
What's wrong with that, Mom?
smoking marijuana on their break, or they
Okay.
have drug addictions. There was an older article, and I didn't see the actual article. Somebody was talking about it. I think it's time that we really start looking at who are we hiring.
Yeah.
And Carolyn Levitt put it best. When you're on an airplane with your family, do you want the best pilot or one who has the right skin color?
Yeah. Doesn't matter. You want the better pilot. Yeah.
Right.
You don't care
There's-
you want the best pilot for the job.
Right. We're a merit-based nation. We should be a merit-based nation, not a racist nation where we hire and fire based on skin color.
Right.
It has happened in the past. I agree. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but we can't sanction it. We can't say that that's our new policy to pick certain skin colors or something, and then to put people in first response positions or safety positions that the Obama administration, Biden administration, they know that they have disabilities that could impact it. That is
Like
putting citizens-
dementia.
Oh my gosh, severe intellectual
Yeah.
abilities. That's somebody needs to understand. I gotta believe that. I want to.
Well, he's already out of the picture. Like I haven't seen Biden since the second Trump came in. Right? He had his one speech and now he's just gone. I don't know if I've seen more of Obama, but that's because of the big Mike walking away.
Yeah, the
As we-
marriage.
yeah, who knows what's going on with that? But I don't believe tabloids and whatever. It is a little weird that she's not around as much, but again, that's the kind of stuff I don't really care about. Marital stuff, that's between them. I don't really care. Listen, Jennifer Aniston, if
Jeez,
he's a winner.
don't count on that one.
Yeah.
But anyhow, the ghost of previous administrations can haunt you, and this is one of those things that got to really start looking at who we're hiring for some of these positions. Look at Los Angeles. We went over that.
Oh,
with the
LA is
people that
such a
they-
yeah.
Yeah.
They think it's good to. We might have talked about this on last week's podcast, but it's going to take about 10 years for the Palisades, right? Did I say this right? To be habitable again. 10 years. Did you watch the video of Trump with the mayor, and the mayor's like, it's going to take like a week, and Trump goes, "Ooh, that's a long time." And did you? It's pretty interesting because one thing that even my liberal friends have been saying is like, this is definitely, they're calling it Trump 2.0.
Yeah.
They're very impressed with. I mean, he's doing things that seem like they're harsh, but it's definitely the things that we needed. So, I mean, these tariffs that everyone's complaining about, prices are probably going to go up slightly until all these countries go, okay, we'll give in, like Colombia did in a day.
And you know what's great too?
I'm just going to grab the rest of my coffee. 1 second. Go ahead. Continue.
What I think is really good too is that he's doing it all at once. Like that signing of the executive orders and churning these things out, because it makes it more difficult for the resistance, I'll just use that term, to attack him. So in the first administration, he had one come out. Then, the travel ban. Then another one came out. I don't want to say trickled out, but they were immediately blocking them every time. Okay, back in court, back in court. This time, I think he is overwhelming the system, and I
Yes.
think he has to do that.
But also,
So if
there's
they
no
want,
backing down. There's no back and forth. It's just, this is how it's going to be done. This is what we're going to do. Like when he's like, how do you know the FBI will listen to you? He goes, they will.
yeah.
I think they will. But, yeah, I mean,
He's marching them out left to right of the FBI.
yeah.
They're freaking out. He's firing them left and right in the FBI. And mind you, he's also giving a really good severance package to many of them. You got 8 months to get out or start coming back to work every day.
Well, the
Some
visas,
of them we don't want that.
the visas are the big one. The getting rid of all the visas. Oh, mom representing the cake shop mug. Like that.
Yeah, where's yours?
Mine's in the wash because I used mine last night. So
get off your lazy ass, you wash it.
I don't hand wash mine. No, yeah, you're right.
Oh my.
I have my glass. Again, I didn't. I should have. But what were we just talking about? But yeah, with the visas specifically, it's it's funny because some of my overseas friends have been like, wait, does that mean we can't travel and visit anymore? It's like, no, it's for the illegal immigrants that have gotten these fake visas or the ability to come over via work visas. Now it's like, nope, bye, gone. Did you see the, I think it's UNC? There's like this Chinese girl, pro-Palestine girl who was like getting all these rallies together. She just got her visa revoked and now she's getting sent back to China because she's been here illegally the whole time.
Yeah, I think the president said that he's doing that. If you are
Yeah,
a non-citizen,
rightfully so.
you're protesting, you're out. Goodbye. Yeah, they had the other morning a man on. He's been here illegally in California for 24 years.
I saw this, yeah.
Took his daughter to school, and guess what? 4 hours later, he was at the border, and he's gone. And they're trying to make him out to be a victim, the victim of the Trump, blah, blah, blah. Victim. He's been living off of our largesse for 24 years, right? His daughter's going to a school. I don't know. Maybe she's a citizen. I don't know. But I sick in my head going, this is the mentality.
He also took away birthright citizenship. How does that work in the sense of, okay, so obviously if two illegals come over and they have a kid in America, that makes them not American, right? That's basically the concept of it. But then what happens if one person's legal and one person's illegal and they have a kid?
No, that's where you're wrong.
Oh, okay.
What has been going on is there's a whole business over, especially in the West Coast. Chinese women who are pregnant come over. They go to a hotel in California. They give birth to their child, who is now, from cradle to grave, gets the benefits of the United States as a citizen of our country. She takes the kid and she goes back to China, and the kid still has those rights. So they come back, they go to school, they get Social Security when they retire, et cetera, et cetera.
Ooh.
So the birthright citizenship has been butchered not all the time. That came out of the 14th Amendment, I believe it is, from slavery. So what they needed to do was they needed to assure the slaves now who were free that their children are citizens, right? Subject to the jurisdiction of. So it was a blanket way of giving slaves, basically, citizenship, because they were not born here, right? Many of them were, but many were brought over as slaves from Africa and other nations here. So it was to clear that up. It has been challenged in the Supreme Court that birthright citizenship has been used in cases. It was never interpreted to mean you could come here, have a kid, and the kid is a citizen for the rest of his life. It just sort of morphed into that. And now it's become an industry, and everybody assumes that's what it is. Mm-hmm. That's why President Trump is now saying, nope, we're doing away with that. That's not what the law says. And if it goes to the Supreme Court, we're going to win. It was never meant to be, come here, have a kid, and they become a citizen.
Right.
Now, if there was a case, Mr. Kim Wok or something like that, I think he was a Chinese. His parents were diplomats. They were here.
Can you say that? Can you say he's a Chinese? Is that canceled? No, yeah. I know what you mean, but the way you said that, I was like, wow.
He's not American. I think his parents were Chinese diplomats, and there was a question about citizenship because neither of them were citizens. It really wasn't about birthright citizenship, but they always try to use that as the case of, see, he was given citizenship. It really wasn't about that. It was more technical.
Right.
But if one parent is a citizen and then you're born in this country, yeah, you have citizenship. But this is nobody's a citizen. They're just coming and giving birth on our soil. And now all of a sudden everyone's decided, oh, that means that person now gets citizenship. No, that was never what the law was about.
Right. So you also sent me the article on the uh, Obama and Biden FFA hired people. Was that tying into what you talked about? Yeah, I wasn't sure if there's any more that you want to talk about.
Dwarfism. So that was part of
Right.
the FAA diversity website came from their desire to become more inclusive in an area. Yeah. So that's what I was talking about with that one.
Now, can we talk about? Did you watch any of the Kash Patel hearing? I really want your thoughts on Kash Patel.
I've seen clips
I'm
of it.
loving him. This guy's amazing.
Yeah. I knew they were going to give him a hard time. I think there's going to be more coming out about the January 6th that
Agreed.
American citizens are going to be shocked to see. And I think that committees are being set up as we speak. And ironically, I think there's some committees out there that seem to have nothing to do with January 6th that we're going to find out have a lot to do with January 6th. So I think this is even a bigger thing than just the Liz Cheneys and whatever. Yeah. Having said that, I think they're very afraid of Kash Patel.
I think the real damning info was when, not damning, but when they asked about Nancy Pelosi's involvement, I guess you could say, and Kash Patel, I mean, he's got info for days. Kash Patel, I say this every time we talk about him, he is not the guy you want to mess with. I think he's got his ear to the ground like no other FBI director has, and now that he is FBI director, it's going to be wild, I think.
Well, it's confirmed, right?
He's going to be confirmed. He better be.
I think so too, but they may not like him, but he is extremely qualified.
Oh, yes.
I mean, he's a lawyer. He's worked for national security. He worked for Radcliffe, I think, in the NSI. He was advisor to the president. He was involved, and he was very much involved in leading up to January 6th, in making sure National Guard was available. Mayor Bowser of D.C. turned it down. They have in writing she turned it down. They were very proactive about getting whatever services you need, and you saw in the hearings. They can't hide it. When you trace it back, the average citizen is eventually going to figure out what we all know. Nancy Pelosi was responsible for working with the sergeant at arms to have protection ready in the Capitol.
Right.
And she didn't do it. Chuck Schumer was responsible in the Senate, and they didn't do it. The big question is why? They were the first ones complaining about, this is an attack and this is outrageous. Well, you knew what was happening that day. Okay? Nobody was hiding the fact that people were going to come and peacefully protest. And they did. And now we're seeing more and more videos that we didn't see before of perfectly peaceful American citizens.
And people being led in by police officers.
Those smoke bombs shot at their face when they were doing nothing.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't hide those videos anymore. Add to that, in about 5 minutes, Kash Patel, as FBI director, is going to dispel everything people knew about the pipe bomber. And that will become the first biggest hoax that's going to be exposed to the country. And then everything else is going to unravel. So back to what we're saying, they're very concerned about Kash Patel. They being those who don't want information about January 6th coming out.
He's going to slash and burn, Ma. Slash and burn. Which is a good thing because, honestly, most of these senators and congressmen, the amount of dirt they got, like as we saw with the Pete Hegseth hearing, we all cheat on our wives and come here after getting drunk. It's like there's probably pages and pages on each, right and left, that I'm sure Patel's going to go through. And, I do trust that Kash Patel is not going to pick sides. I think he's going to do his best as FBI director. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he cares.
What sides anymore? Because I don't trust Republicans.
Yeah, it's right or wrong. That's really what it comes down to.
Who knows who's involved in what? Because, we have plenty of Republicans, in my personal opinion, they knew exactly what went on that day. Some of them may have even been in cahoots with what went on that day. Yeah. If anything, they turned a blind eye to the fact that, we might have insurrection because, they are kind of protesting our election, which is a pretty big deal. So I think we need to understand as citizens what happened that day, because we're not getting the full picture.
That's like my rule. I feel like anyone who's been in politics for over 10 years, you gotta know what's going on a little bit, Like I'm sure if Kash Patel goes through the turtles background. I always
Yeah.
forget. Like what is he?
Mitch
50
McConnell.
years? Yeah, Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
Thank you. That guy's probably the bodies, mom. The bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't that's not really so much Cash Patel's.
I know.
Put it this way, I think they have enough to keep them busy in 4 years just trying to straighten that ship out, trying to get it back to doing what it was
Yeah.
supposed to be doing.
I think the
Like
FBI.
looking
Yeah.
at thousands of children, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one. But also, just getting the Pentagon in order and all the agencies together. Like, I think one thing that I think people are starting to agree with on both sides, I should say, is the concept of government's getting a little too big. Not branches, not just agencies, but the fact that we have how many IRS were they going to hire? 80,000? When do we really need, like, that should have been the kicker right there where everyone was like, yeah, maybe that's a little too many people.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think most people now are like, hey, let's start wrapping these and getting these together because these are major associations that are within our government branches that need to be reeled in and put back together because they're just getting too large. Because like the concept of all of FBI is bad isn't necessarily true, but when you have 100,000 people that work in the FBI, someone's gonna like growing up, mom, and tell me if I'm wrong, right? I feel like movies and like say the James Bond movies and all these movies was like the FBI was a secret organization that had like a small subset of people. And then in reality it's like there's 50,000 employees in the FBI.
Yeah. Well, the FBI has never been small per se, but it operates on the federal level. So it's supposed to work with, only supposed to handle certain cases, like the police force, local police force handles some, and the FBI is supposed to come in when it becomes a federal or across the state lines or something like that.
Right.
But yes, I mean, that has always been one of the hallmarks of the Republicans versus the Democrats. Republicans have always, traditionally, the platform's been smaller government, cut taxes, smaller government. Democrats will always grow the government to help the people, bigger,
Right.
bigger, more reach, blah, blah, blah. And that was fine in and of itself. But now what we've been learning over the last, let's say, 8 years, Trump into Biden, now into, it's not, when people talk about the deep state, that fourth branch of government that's going on, it's not, everyone wants to know, who is it? What branch is it? Give me names, whatever. It's not so much that. It's you take all these different agencies that we have. That's part of our big, and then you give them power through regulations and things. So they're able to do things to citizens that are quote unquote legal because, it's regulated, but yet it's not constitutional. So there's no one really to go to complain to when, say, the EPA decides, nope, you can't have a puddle in your backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say, wait a minute, you can't take my land away. Yes, we can. We have that power. But you shouldn't have that power. We didn't elect you. No, it was legislated. We have the. So see
Right.
how they put layers in there that makes it harder for citizens. And I think it's been so egregious, decade after decade, that now it has morphed into something huge. When the unemployment numbers would come out during the Biden regime and the numbers went up when they were legit, which was not very often, it was all government workers. All the new employees were government workers.
Right.
We're not adding to our working sector, to industry, to manufacturing. No, we've just been adding more and more government workers. And then the real kick in the pants is they complained when Trump said, you got to go back to the office. They freaked out. They won't go back to the office. And you have to sign a contract, or I forget how they put it. They're either going to investigate if you were doing another job while you were a federal employee. Because I believe you signed something saying you won't do another job. I'm guessing that in some and so some of
Probably.
these people were doing 2 and 3 jobs because they didn't have to do anything. They were getting paid by you and me, tax dollars, and meanwhile they were making more money doing other jobs.
Matt Sprague was telling me in Canada because they don't like they have to start spending their military budget a little better because Canada's like never at war. He said that you can get paid as an engineer. All you have to do is basically drive around and just test shit all day, like just make sure things work, and it's like it's 6 figures every year. It's like,
yeah,
that's all you got to do. And he's like, yeah, you only go in twice a week. I was like, what? So given the Canadian dollar is not as much as ours. So, but it is funny how sometimes military seems like they have a lot, government jobs are a lot, I don't want to say easier, but there's definitely certain aspects of it, especially military, from what I've heard from multiple people, there's a lot of benefits. Like they have something up there that you can get, and Matt Sprague was trying to explain this to me. You can go.
Chris, our government, you get pensions, you get healthcare benefits.
Yeah, but our soldiers actually fight. The Canadians do nothing.
Well, I mean,
Matt Sprague's been sitting on his ass for the last 2 years, Ma. Sorry, Matt Sprague, if you're listening.
Matt should get his engineering degree and start applying for those jobs.
Right.
Do you need an engineering degree for it, or can he do it as military?
Matt Sprague could get his way in there. He's like, he'll be like, I've been an engineer for 5 years. Matt Sprague couldn't put his computer back together if he tried.
All right.
But no, he knows I'm kidding. But what were we just talking about going through? Well, let me read some chats real fast, just because. See, people are asking questions as we're going, and usually we do questions at the end. But since we're doing it categorically, it probably makes more sense. So someone just asked you, have you discussed the movie, or you have to had to discuss the movie 2000 Mules? What episode was that? Did we talk about that movie? Have you seen that movie?
I have not seen all of it. I remember when it came out. That was after the 2020 few years later. Catherine, I think it was Catherine Engelbrecht, and I can't think of the man's name. So they used the cell phone data to track down where people were. It's a whole discussion about basically with the mail-in ballots, how they can prove that people were dumping huge amounts of ballots into these ballot boxes, which in most cases is totally illegal. You can't do that. What? So they were able to use cell phone tracing, and I forget the whole thing, but they put a whole movie together. I don't know if Kash Patel was involved in that one. I know Dinesh D'Souza was involved in that and helped produce it. They threw some. He did have to issue an apology recently to one individual that he said was involved, and it turns out he said, I didn't have the proof of that, and no. And unfortunately, everyone was like, okay, therefore the whole movie's fake. No, that's not what's happening. It's just one individual that was tied to it that he said, no, it wasn't that individual. So he came out and apologized. But the rest of the story is basically about that. And I didn't have to see the movie. I looked at some of the data, and at a minimum, it doesn't add up.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel like after this past election, I think it kind of proved that there was definitely some kind of interferences in the first election. So, well, I should say second election, technically. This is his third, Trump's third. But, yeah, I mean, I think, how do I put this? I feel like the positive is people are so happy with, and I would say unanimously speaking, I feel like most people, even my friends on the left, are like, no, I really love what he's doing right now. So I feel like we've kind of overlooked the election fraud and stuff, which is kind of the negative aspect of it, because that's definitely something that still needs to be talked about and discussed.
Well, it does. It matters right now, and it matters. So we're talking about confirmation hearings, right? Pete Hegseth got through the skin of his teeth,
which is wild.
So that's why elections matter. That's why I care who's the senator in Arizona and in Nevada when they all of a sudden pull ballots out of a box in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, Mother, but the commoners don't think of it like this.
Right, but now I'm hoping people are starting to wake up to that fact that now when you're trying to get people in with a president who really has a mandate, and you're struggling to get these people through. Why? Because the Republican senators who confirmed some of the most incredible individuals in a negative sense for the last administration with barely batting an eyelash, some of them, not all of them, but some of them, are now giving Pete Hegseth a hard time. Okay?
Yeah.
That's why it matters. These elections matter. And one of my articles, the voter ID in the midterms. So we got midterms coming up in 2026, right? Oftentimes, that's when, if you have whoever's the president, the party tends to shift back to the other party. So that'll make it very challenging if we lose the House and the Senate, right?
Right.
And that's in 2 years. So right off the bat, fortunately, the Trump administration, they're pushing for voter ID in the midterms. They want a prohibition on, they want to prohibit non-citizens from voting in Washington, D.C. They want no non-citizens involved in the elections, meaning administrating anything. Non-citizens should be nowhere near our elections. And the last one is a constitutional amendment.
How
Where
do
we
you?
literally
Oh, sorry.
say no voting if you're not a citizen.
How do you feel about, because I know Gavin Newsom reached out to Trump for help with the fires. How do you feel about Trump saying, I'll help you as long as you do voter ID and all that stuff? Like, I get it. Obviously, you want voter ID because that's constitutional. But also, doesn't that kind of feel like you're blackmailing American citizens?
Um,
Like, that's kind of the way
yeah,
I see it.
I don't know that you can force a governor to do that, but it definitely brings attention to a state that we've talked about on the podcast. Republicans win, 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 and at the last minute, they lost it because they found more votes. Gavin Newsom had two petitions to pull him?
Yeah,
From
and somehow,
governor.
yeah. Well, if you're talking about his recall, are you talking about his recall, or yeah? Because his recall, that one still blows my mind. I mean, out of all the election stuff, I feel like that guy, I don't know how he got not recalled. He was up for recall. He had an outstanding number of votes to recall him. Clearly, the people of California don't like this guy, and yet somehow he still got reelected. So, I mean, if you want to talk about just state by state fraud, I mean, sure, maybe the presidency too big to tell, which isn't true, but I feel like if you looked into that one, you'd find some sketchy stuff. There's no way that guy would have. That's like Trudeau winning again.
There was a poll right after the fires. 51%
Oh yeah.
of people in California, maybe it was Democrats, don't believe that it was the fault of the governor or the officials. That's at the
But that just
general.
goes to, like you explained on the last podcast, how it's completely that guy's fault. So that just goes to show how many people are uneducated in the aspect of how it works. Right? Because they probably go, how can you play? What, did he go out and throw the ember into the fucking into the woods? No, that's not how it worked. But we
How
talked
about
about the
in
train
Illinois?
line. We talked about the
How about
train line conspiracy, but go ahead. What are you gonna say?
what train line?
The train line, well, if you look at how the fire started, it matches.
Oh, right.
So there's a map for those of you that didn't watch last week's podcast. There's a map, assuming that it's the same, or it's a real map. So a couple of years ago, they talked about putting in a train line in the area where the Palisades, where they were going to, like literally put in this train line. And if you look at the fire's pattern, it was burned almost exactly the same as the train line pattern. So the theory is that they tried to burn it out they were too lazy to cut it down because it would cost too much money. So they did a forest fire to burn all the area and it just got out of control. So that's the conspiracy. Not saying it's true, but you should definitely look at the map. You'll go, oh wow. So
Well, in Illinois, Governor Pritzker, another piece of work, he'll probably run for office or be one of the candidates for Democrat for the next presidential election.
right.
He's already saying that we will defy Trump's orders. We will not allow him in the schools to take the illegals out. We will not let him go in the prisons, etc., etc. If y'all recall, right before the election, Chicago was one of the first cities where its citizens, especially minority areas, were adamant. We do not want the illegals in our schools. You're ruining our city. We have no jobs. They're taking over our schools. Our kids have nowhere to go after school, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's dangerous outside.
So fast forward how many months? 2 months, 3 months later, for November, so 4 or 5 months later, the governor is saying, nope, we're not letting you take any of the illegals out. We're going to defy this order.
Yeah, this guy's an idiot.
But you watch, they'll reelect him again. It's mind-boggling. They will elect the same people again. He'll it may not be him. He'll pick the next person to run. They'll still vote a Democrat in. Nothing's going to change for minorities in this nation. And it is changing. I will say more of them have voted for a different party.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Until they wake up to the fact that what is this party doing for me? And it's like Trump said the first time around, you got nothing to lose by voting for me. Right?
Yeah,
You got nothing to
it's true.
lose. Because you're not advancing, as a minority with what
So
you got.
someone said Illinois politicians ignoring the will of the people is kind of a status quo, though.
Yeah, it is.
It is, yeah. So
However, that was the first time you saw them rise up. That's how bad it got. When they were actually coming out and supporting Trump in Illinois, right?
yeah.
That was a shocker. So
Well,
you would
his
think
his
they were-
ratings right now are at an all-time high, even in his first presidency. So like the swing, the pendulum swing, and I was just talking about this with someone, but the pendulum swing has gone all the way to the right, right? It started left in the sense of we were like 3/4 of the way, all the way left. Now we're like full right in the sense of we got through. But it comes down to what we talked about in the last podcast, which is the Democrats now have no one, right? And as you said, you'll see someone in 4 years pop up, but my generation and a good portion of your generation, and then the younger kids, obviously, they all love Trump because of how he is as a person in the sense of the limelight. And he's a little more relatable, I guess. Whereas when you look at the Democratic Party right now, the only hope that they had was AOC. And now everyone's seeing she's a crazy person. So now who on the left is going to be the person that steps up and is like the person to relate to the younger generation? I couldn't tell you who it was.
It was Gavin Newsom. And he'll try and align himself.
It's not going to happen. You and I both know that's not going to happen.
Chris, you know what? Oh. By the time we get to the next election season, which is people are already planning for it now, everyone's going to forget the fires. Believe it or not, everyone's going to forget the fires.
Do you think so?
They will move on from that, and they're going to start equating how much he's done in the short period of time.
You think so? Because I think what's going to happen realistically is now that media is starting to turn, I think they're going to start keeping all these things that make the Democrats look much worse. I think because people have stopped believing in mainstream media and are going to other things like Gateway Pundit or the Epoch Times or however you want to pronounce it, third-party non-mainstream medias, I think these are the medias that are going to really pave the way for what historically needs to be remembered. Like these wildfires, this isn't just a wildfire. This is a wildfire that historically is the biggest wildfire of all time. Burned down. It's the most money we will have to put into a natural disaster.
Right. But what you're missing the point is money talks and shit walks. By the time we get to that point, the Democrats will be promising people in their district money for everything.
Mom, I can't take people's stupidity.
And that you wind up, for lack of a better word, you buy their votes. You use the funds, and probably your and my tax dollars. They'll get federal funding, right? Think of the garbage we're learning now that they're cutting. Why am I paying with my tax dollars for condoms in Iran?
Yeah, $50 million or whatever it was.
Who knew that? Raise your hand if you knew that. I didn't know that. What am I supposed to go onto the website and do a deep dive into every line item? Okay. That's the kind of crap that we have money for. Go to a little town and Newsom says, I got $50 million. I'm going to build you a beautiful school. I'm going to do all these things. They'll elect him governor. Well, he can't run for governor, but that's how people get elected. And it's not just Democrats. You go into these areas and and the other side is you scare people. Donald Trump's going to take your school away. You're all going to have to go to some regional school. And, it's a game that gets played. And it will never change until people wise up. But when you're desperate and somebody dangles a carrot, I'll vote for you if you get me a job. I'll vote for you if you bring industry in.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just how people think. They don't think in the long term, I guess. But
I also think, Chris, especially for young people, it had gotten just that bad in this country that Donald Trump rode that wave.
Yeah.
I think we all knew, those of us who are more experienced, you guys came to the game a little bit late, but you're young and you're learning, right? For those of us who've been around the block a few times with the Clintons and the Bushes and all these characters, we could not believe how bad it had gotten in this country and the direction it was going in. And then you guys started to feel it, not just see it, but feel it.
But I mean, COVID was the big kicker because everyone, right? You saw this week, and I think we could say it on YouTube now. Like, remember, everyone said, "Oh, it's not from a lab. It never came." And now we literally have the factual paperwork that they've been holding out on us. That was, yes, it's from a lab in Wuhan, right? That was a conspiracy theory 5 years ago, or not even.
It's not even just a lab in Wuhan. It was created here in the United States.
Yeah.
It was then taken over to
That's
the
a
lab
fact now. That's not a question or conspircy.
Well, there's paper trail and there's financial documentation now to say that it started here and was taken over there. So how would you feel if you were somebody in Italy whose parent died or child died from COVID, and you find out the United States created this monster and shipped it overseas?
Yeah. But what's wild is, but isn't it wild how we were saying that 4 years ago and we got a channel strike for it? And now it's like, oh, hey, YouTube, can you listen, take away my channel strike, please? Like, I couldn't upload for a week.
Well, have you all noticed?
I had a week vacation.
with Robert Kennedy's confirmation hearings,
which I loved.
everything is about the vaccines.
Yeah.
That's all they care about. Vaccine, vaccine, vaccine.
Please don't go
Why?
after big pharma.
Because 90% of them are funded by pharmaceuticals. And
Hold on,
they're
Mom.
in
Not Bernie Sanders. He only took 1.5 million. Did you see that? What a
Oh my
moron. He's like,
Yeah.
no, they offered me 200 million and I only took 1.5. That guy is such a hypocrite bullshit artist. Like,
Yeah.
a socialized everything. I have 4 houses and I take 150 million from people. Like, what? What a moron. That guy makes me so mad. Or my favorite is, you can tell he's starting to go mentally too, is he's like, did you see the whole negotiation term that he used in that hearing? Right? He's like, negotiation. Right? He's like, I forget what it was, but literally he goes, don't you feel a little nervous about negotiating with Trump or Trump negotiating with these companies? And then Robert Kennedy Jr. goes, well, when it comes to negotiations, and Bernie Sanders goes, well, negotiation's a big word. And Robert Kennedy Jr. goes, well, you just said it. And then Bernie Sanders goes, no, I didn't say that. It's like, what's going on here? Like, you can literally find the transcript. It's in videos right there. It's like, are these people crazy? This is why you can't be in politics for 40 years. You're too old. Get out. That shit annoys the fuck out of me.
Well, this is why I've been saying that you're seeing now when you have a certain degree of right on your side, or I wouldn't say that, you have the American people on your side now. They agree with what you're saying. It's just putting your shoulder down and not caving to these senators who have their heads cut off. They're not the brightest of people, some of them. Many of them, they're just shooting whatever they can throw out there that'll stick. And they're sounding like idiots doing it. I mean, I heard, oh gosh, what's his name? The British comedian. Russell Brand.
No, okay, actor. Or no, Russell Brand. I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I was thinking of Russell Peters for some reason.
He put a clip on there and he goes, I just went to go to get a drink of water. I come back and Bernie Sanders is screaming about onesies. It's like, what is going on here? I mean, that is the mentality. They're just losing their shit over this. And all they talk about is vaccines. Now, vaccines are important to me, to you, important to everybody, especially after COVID.
Thanks, Cody.
But that's not the only thing that the HHS does. And I tell you, I've been watching videos about our food supply and crap going in our food, not even processed food. We're talking everyday food.
Yeah.
I think Robert Kennedy he used to look like a nut job. He's not looking so crazy to me anymore.
He's also jacked out of his mind, so he's doing something right. Probably taking TRT, but whatever.
Whatever.
One thing I will say Big Mike did do, which I do appreciate, is right. She did the you had to have the nutrition facts on stuff. That's a big one. Like, as someone who does do dieting and stuff, that's a big one to have, knowing what's actually in your food now. But I think RFK Jr. is taking it a step further and taking out of the stuff that should have been taken out a while ago. But like, when it comes to fast food, and I know fast food's bad for you, all that, in moderation, that's a whole different topic. But people from other countries who have McDonald's, they'll have McDonald's in their country and then have it here. They're like, these are two completely different things. Because ours is so processed, has so many extra things in it. MSG is a big one. I forget what MSG actually stands for, but it's something that, like, your brain craves.
Glutamate.
Monosaccharide glutamate or something like that.
It's a preservative.
Yes,
MSG.
but it's got like some kind of like addictive principle in it that's like, ooh.
Chris, I just saw a woman sitting next to Jillian Michaels. I can't think of her name, but she was talking about stomach issues and problems she was having. And I'm gonna flip it to you. Maybe if you want, we can bring it on the next podcast. But she goes into a deep dive. Literally, companies that used to do the pesticides, Roundup, right? Monsanto and Roundup. Well, now they had to do something else. So they started putting this product in food for pesticides.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, that was the explosion of the organic industry. I was never big into organic, but after hearing her, I'm going to try and do more organic foods, because everything we eat is tainted based on what she's saying. They're in everything. The agrochemical business owns our agriculture. Right. When were they allowed to get involved? Because they need to turn a profit?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the video of like Ryan Seacrest showing the children how McDonald's is made?
Yeah.
Or Burger King's made, how a chicken nugget's made? And it's absolutely disgusting. And Ryan Seacrest goes, how many of you kids want this now? And every kid's like, I do. They don't
Yeah.
care. But it's kind of the same way. I kind of see it the same way, though, because I would be a hypocrite if I said the other way. But remember growing up, I don't remember who it was, but someone was at our house and they showed us like what soda does to a coin. I think it was Mr. Taylor or something like that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
he showed us, he put Pepsi in a cup and basically everyone knows the little thing of how terrible soda is for you. I watched a video the other day of what Monster Energy drinks do to rust. It is destructive what it does to metal. And I'm like, man, we've been putting that in our body. That can't be good. I'm still going to drink it, though. It's delicious. But
It's what's really concerning is all right, I can eliminate Pepsi, I can eliminate fast food. What she is saying, it's in every food.
oh, yeah.
You can't get away from this. What the chemicals and the engineered poison basically that's in our food system.
But does it taste good, mother? That's all I need to know. If I get a family pack at Taco Bell.
Hold on, we wonder why so many people have stomach issues, especially
Yeah.
young people. Why do we have a rising cancer, et cetera, et cetera?
Right.
A lot of people have gluten allergies now, and they don't even know it. And they're living with food discomfort. They don't realize it.
Well, I looked into the almond milk thing that you were telling me about, right?
Yeah.
I did not realize how many cancers are linked to almond milk. It's a lot. There's like 30 plus. Yeah. There's like there's 30 different cancers that are related to almond milk. It's like, what? And we still sell that in stores?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's not just the almond milk. It's the soy milk.
right.
It's all the different.
It's
all
the process of getting it out. It's not like almonds are bad for you, but however they get the milk out in the process, that they're finding a lot of carcinogens in that. And it's like, what?
No, what happens is when you get the milk out of it, it's very thin. So they put emulsifiers in to thicken it like a milk. It still doesn't look like whole milk, but it's thickened. And those emulsifiers and anything, there's cancer-causing agents in that, which who knows that? But also, you remember, our FDA allows a certain amount of stuff. There's things they don't allow in Europe that we allow here, and vice versa. So, I forget what it is, whatever's in soda or whatever. They will not allow that in Europe because it's cancer-causing. And here in the FDA, they decided, well, enough, it's okay. Well, after our experience with COVID, I'm starting to wonder, is it really okay? Or was it okay because the pharmaceuticals said it was okay? Or these chemical companies that produce these things said it's okay?
What's the consensus on fluoride? Have we figured that one out yet? Is fluoride good for you or bad for you? I get different answers every single time. I thought like for a period there, that was like when people said kale was good for you, and then we found out that kale's terrible for you.
My understanding as of right now is, remember, we had well water in our house, so it wasn't a concern for us. But they put fluoride in city
Town
water,
water,
like
yeah.
right now, your water where you are, if you city water, in some places, and they put
They
different
can't
amounts.
kill me. They
Right.
can't get me, Mom.
Now, there's a fine line between, you'll have the dental community say, listen, I see people with worse teeth in non-fluoride areas, so it does do something. Then you have others say it's not worth the side effects. You should treat it separately. So I don't know enough, but I would trust the science to see what it says. And I would like to see under Robert Kennedy, what does the science say?
Yeah.
Not what he says. And that was basically his answer to everything. I go by the science.
Did you see him
He made
pop
a
a zin?
comment.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, did you see him pop a zins mid-hearing? Everyone was like, "Whoa,
Yeah, he
badass!"
did. Yeah. Um, he made a comment to a person asking questions who happened to be a black woman that in terms of immunity, I don't know the specifics because it was a clip, but he said, we know black people have a greater immunity, so they didn't necessarily need the vaccine. Well, right there, she's making it sound like he's being racist and saying, and the way he said it, you kind of take a step back and say, wow, you don't want to single out skin color for vaccines or whatever.
Well, if you're going by science,
If that's the science, and he said, I'm not telling you what he says, it's scientific. There's proof that that's the case. So you can make that argument, perhaps not on the floor of the Senate with a woman who's looking to not confirm you, but that's the point. Just give me the science and let me understand the science. And I think Americans, COVID woke up a lot of people to a lot of shit.
Yeah.
That whole mess backfired big time.
right.
And now they're paying the price for it.
So we just did all of our political news. So how about we give everyone a couple minutes to ask any political questions they have? Then we'll do the rest of the articles, and then at the end we could do Q&As with everything else. So if anyone has any political questions they want to ask, they're more than welcome to. We'll give it
I
like
just want to say,
5 minutes.
the Dems are at it again. Did you see Hakeem Jeffries? We're gonna protest. He wants cries for riots in the street. We're gonna go after Trump in the streets.
I
Okay.
can't take that guy.
I want all of us to
I don't
remember
understand
that.
how some of these people have jobs. Like, how'd you get voted? Is it that easy to get voted in? Because listen, you want me to make a stink? I'll get in there. Put me in, coach.
I saw an interesting factoid while you're waiting for a question.
You sure?
Tom Tillis, who is the North Carolina senator,
Tell us. Yep.
which is of interest to me as I consider moving to that state. They say, why can't anybody primary him? Why did he wind up being the Republican? When you look at the stats of who voted in the primary, right? So to pick the candidate, if you will, it's like 21% of the total number who voted for Trump voted for him in the primary. So think about that. I believe it was of Republicans. So think about that. 2 million people voting and only 20% showed up to pick their primary candidate for Senate when it was his turn. So when you ask, how did these people do it? There's a lot of apathy when it comes time at the primary. Right. People are apathetic. And you wind up with a candidate who, for whatever reason, gets his name in there and becomes the candidate of that. Oh, nice.
Let me make it less obvious.
Yeah. Becomes the candidate of that party. And you wind up with, look at AOC. You know why AOC originally got into office? She beat out another Democrat who has been doing it for, 20 years at that point. The same person in that district. The only reason why she did it is because nobody voted in that district. He just assumed he was going to win.
Yeah, AOC's the come up doesn't make sense. Someone asked a good question that I was going to ask you before. Do you think no federal income tax is possible?
Yeah, anything's possible. Years ago, they wanted to do Forbes. Steve Forbes wanted to do, when he was running for president, a sliding scale, or the same for everybody. Everybody pays a flat 15% on a total amount. Or some people do a sliding scale. The more you do, you get to pay. It's a set amount regardless. Get rid of all this gibberish with the capital gains and the this and the that. So, yeah, it's just you have to have another income source. We have to generate revenue. But that's the beauty of cutting. Do we really need as much? We just saved $50 million not paying for condoms in Iran.
Someone just asked, how do you get these? We only made these for us because we were talking, I forget, did we talk about it on the last podcast? But guys, we did the math on it trying to figure out. The mugs are definitely better because realistically, don't get me wrong, Mom, this was a great Christmas gift. It's literally just a sticker around a cup. I could have done this for $1. Like, I could have just gotten a cup and then freaking... Guys, it would cost...
Good quality glass.
The glass is good, but the freaking sticker's falling apart already. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, no, it's not. Just don't put it in the dishwasher.
Yeah, I've been hand washing it. But the problem with these guys is we would love to make a ton of these, but for us to just break even, right? To break even, we'd have to sell these for like $30, and it doesn't make sense. Yeah, so that's why we were like, we want to do. Obviously, we'll do something original. Like Laffy, I think Laffy was the one that brought it up to do the mugs instead of the T-shirts or whatever. But then we looked at the price of the freaking mugs, and it's freaking ridiculous. So.
Well, and the reason why we did it was because when we're on, and when you have people come on,
when we do it at my place.
Drinking something because somebody's just talking, and when you look at the talk shows, they all have like Good Day New York mugs or whatever.
Yeah.
So kind of a neat way. You have a mug and a glass. I have
the mug. Can you pull up your mug real fast, Mom? So the mug's cooler because that's not a sticker. That's actually made. So that's why the mug. I would do the mugs over the glass. So it's blue on the inside. It's perfect. That's a great piece of merch.
Oh yeah, that's a nice one.
Yeah,
but the mug is a little small. Like in hindsight,
exactly.
I would large mug now because I'm doing 2 shots of coffee.
Yeah, well, most of my glasses won't even. My mugs won't do them. But all right.
Maybe we could do some research and see if we can get some cheaper.
Yeah, I'd have to really look into it. I know that there's people that will do it for me, but I'm like, do I want that? Because obviously
Yeah.
cheaper means lower quality.
Because I want to be a garage sale and see somebody's trying to sell a cake shop mug.
Well, my fear, someone, because I was at
I
the,
know
um, salon today, right? I was fixing their thing, and someone was like, "I recognize you from somewhere." I was like, "Please don't say the podcast or YouTube. This would not be good."
God, that's
Yeah, it's
why.
what I want, but she's like 60, and I was like, ugh. But like in TikTok, things will come up locally. So if someone's local in your area, I was like, oh no, am I gonna have to explain this to a 60-year-old who's about to go on her smoke break? Like, it's like, oh no, who's got a grotesque voice? Yeah. Have I? Mom, her voice was like this. Have I seen you before? I was like, oh no. I hope to God no.
I always thought it was funny picking you guys up in high school. The Kenny's, your brother's classmates coming up. Pancake 101! Hey, Pancake!
And you can get mugs, like you should be able to make a profit. I don't care about profit that much in the sense of, like, sure, but I'm not trying to price gouge you guys for mugs.
We just want to do it for your peeps.
Yeah, we just do it for fun. Guys, we make so much money it doesn't even matter. I won't go into the details, but you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
but if it's over $50 to make 30 mugs, I'm out. If I have to put more, yeah, if it comes down to my electric bill, if it comes down to my electric bill or fucking mugs.
Because the lights are gonna dim.
Yeah, guys, I can only have one light on while we're streaming. Sorry, Rich, but we can't do the electric bill. No, government has become so dependent on Clash. Someone brought up a good point. So, in relation to the will they get rid of the federal income tax, seems hard with the current national debt issue. We've talked about it on the podcast. I don't think doing a cryptocurrency is going to. I think my problem with the crypto stuff is I think we have this mentality that Bitcoin's going to solve all of our problems because it's a currency that the U.S. government thinks that they can put, even Trump, I will throw him in here, thinks that it's going to go up to $500,000 a coin, which I just don't see that happening in his 4 years. So to your point, what are we, 35 trillion in debt, slowly going down? Maybe, but probably not, not with the tariffs. So
My understanding with cryptocurrency, and I have a very basic understanding, I've learned a little bit more recently about how blockchain works and whatnot. I now understand why any government is concerned about it because it's very hard for them to regulate it just by the way it works with the computers authorizing transactions. No human is involved, which is supposed to make it fail safe until they can figure out how they can manipulate those computers.
yeah.
Government doesn't like you having that's going in the opposite direction of all these governments. They want to control you through your money, social credit scores,
The
everything else.
banks do that already, so.
Right. And the Bitcoin coming in, I understand now why they're so quote unquote afraid of it because they can't monitor it. They have to figure out a way how not only how they're going to get a piece of it, but how they can make sure they get a piece of it. And for those of you doing your taxes right now, I just got my checklist from my accountant. They want to know if you did any crypto transactions, when did you do it, what time frame, how much, blah 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 blah, and you got to give all this information. Not that my accountant wants it, but because the government wants it. So right now they're kind of in a fishing expedition. They want to say how can we, if this is going to be popular under Trump and other countries too, this is international.
Right.
They want to know how do we get a handle on it because nobody likes currency that's not monitored. Humans have to get their hands on it.
I just realized we've been streaming to TikTok this whole time and I haven't looked at my chat thing once. Do y'all own any type of crypto? I've always stayed away from it. Well, I mean, my brothers do, but I don't. I've always stayed away from crypto.
I don't think it's appropriate to talk about what we own personally.
Yeah. Besides the jets, the helicopters, the limos.
Well, I'm saying when it comes to security stuff, you got to be really careful because some people take that as an endorsement. And I
Yeah.
don't want to tell people what to do or not do.
Yeah. No, that's true. I'll say this though, from what I see my brothers friends do with these crypto rug pulls, besides Bitcoin, I wouldn't trust crypto as far as I could throw it.
I have more of a trust for it, I'll tell you, since I've learned a lot recently. I think
Disgusting.
I don't know about the rug things. I'm not going down that
Yeah, the
road,
shit
but
coins. You mean
I'm
Bitcoin and
yeah, the
yeah,
basic
the main ones.
cryptocurrencies that's used internationally. I'm intrigued by it, put it that way, or I'm interested in learning more about it. From what I understand of it, I have very limited knowledge, and I don't like how they bounce up and down. That's a little bit concerning. All I will say to people is this: don't invest in anything unless you understand it.
And make sure you put all your money into it.
No, no, no.
And make sure you take your life savings and throw it in there. You're gonna do it at a casino anyway.
But that's the first thing anybody will ever tell you. Never invest in something if you don't fully understand it. So,
Yeah.
just be careful. People try and outsmart you. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. It's this, it's that. If you don't or I'm going to try it and see what happens. That's not good. That's not the best way to do something. Got to be really careful with that.
Risk it all. Put it all in. Do you half-ass blackjack or do you go all in on the first hand? That's my question to you guys. Do we have any other? We'll give it like one more minute for any other political questions, and then we'll do the other half of our articles, which are non-political.
People think taxes are bad, and nobody wants to pay a lot of taxes, especially not $50 million for condoms in Iran. But you have to fund your government. The government can't make money, even though they will say that they do. They print money and they tax. That's the only way the government generates money. And we used to have a gold standard. You had to back that money up with something. Now it's such a shit show that it's who knows what backs it up, and that's how you get the inflation. But in reality, smaller government that citizens, because when you're a citizen, you have rights and you have responsibilities. You got to serve on jury duty, which we were just talking about. I have jury duty next week. You got to pay taxes, but the government should be allowed to, take your money for taxes and give it to foreigners or other extremes, give it to other countries for their condoms. That's where you draw the line. So in terms of income tax, I mean, there will always probably be an income tax of some sort or tax of some sort because you have to fund your government in any country. It's just how much do you want to be paying towards that?
Right.
You have some people who are very wealthy and, American dream, to their credit, they got that wealth. They pay 50 cents of every dollar in tax.
Yeah. And it still doesn't. Always love when they talk about like you should tax the rich more, but realistically, like when you do the math on it, it wouldn't even make a difference.
Well, there's two schools of thought, but yeah.
This is a pretty obvious answer, but you think Donald Trump will steer America into direct arms race and potential war with China, or will he hold back? We're not going to go to war now that Trump's in office. It's never going to happen. Someone said it best. The next world war is going to be whoever tries to take Antarctica, that treaty in Antarctica.
I think people have to understand we have been at war with China, but it's not a kinetic war. Kinetic war is when boots on the ground in the city and you're firing at each other. It's a trade war, right? And it's a pharmaceutical war. It's a treaty war. It's a currency war because they formed the BRICS overseas and during Biden, nobody was trying to come up with another currency.
Yeah, I guess you can kind of make the argument that the tariffs are kind of an act of offense/defense in a political climate. So I kind of guess you could kind of see, I don't want to say it's a war, but you know what I mean? It's kind of like there's things that you could do that attack or defend against a country, but isn't a war, as you said, like not a kinetic war, but
our relationship with China has been so imbalanced that it needs to be straightened out. And we, as a buying power, meaning most of our citizens, even poor people can buy things in our country. Mm-hmm. It's not like North Korea where you're scraping the dirt for food.
Yeah, I think that people don't realize that there's a huge difference between poverty and absolute poverty. There's actually like a metric for it. Yeah.
Yes. And for our situation, because we have been a very wealthy country, everybody needs us. They hate us, but they need it. Well, I don't mean hate, but, they resent us. But too many people have done too many deals that have hurt us economically and taken advantage of the fact that, Americans will always buy our goods. They have to. And our past presidents and administrations have put in a position where we're not making enough stuff anymore. So we need to produce more goods because we shipped it all overseas. So they had the advantage, right? And I have no problem with balancing. I don't want to gouge anybody because then we're not going to be able to afford goods that come from overseas. That's not fair to citizens who want to buy products from overseas. But it has to be fair. And I mean, look at what's going on in Panama. Panama was supposed to be independent area for the U.S. because we dumped a lot of money into building that canal for us to have our ships go freely and whatnot. And now Trump is calling it out. China's controlling Panama. That was never supposed to happen.
Right. Huh.
And that's why he's making a stink about Panama. And that's why he's making such a stink about Greenland, because that's a strategic location. We have nuclear weapons in that area. And we need to protect the Western Hemisphere, mainly Americans. Yeah. And that's why he's zoned in on Greenland. So,
yeah. Are you ready to get into the more fun articles?
Sure.
Goodbye obesity. Scientists uncover fat-burning protein switch. All right, let me destroy this one. Go ahead. Now you're in my territory. Go ahead.
Stages. There's a fat-burning mechanism that regulates the mitochondria protein. It's called the MCJ. I forget what it stands for. When they removed it from mice cells, it created a lot of heat. And from that heat, they had weight loss, right? So in the adipose tissue, that fatty tissue, you have white, you have brown. The white fatty tissue stores your energy. The brown is where you get your heat and your thermogenesis, which controls, the heat and the
heat mechanisms. Yep.
So when you remove that MCJ protein, it produces more heat, and these mice are losing weight. So they're looking for ways to block that MCJ in fat people. If you can block that, they feel like those cells will start burning rather than storing.
Right.
Okay. Until they can really roll it out, they need to make sure that there's no long-term effects or it doesn't affect any of the other organs.
So what's interesting is a couple years ago, they talked about, I knew it was a thing. It's super expensive to do, but you can actually surgically cauterize the fat storing parts of the body. So right, your body stores fat, and it has to start somewhere. Like fat is connected to muscle. Like it kind of goes over it essentially, but it has to start on some part of the muscle to grow out. So they actually said there was a way of doing it. It's super expensive, but you can actually completely cauterize almost like the front of the muscle so your body can't physically store fat, which is good, but also very dangerous because your body needs a certain amount of fat. But I guess your body would just excrete all the extra fat. So I feel like I like this idea. I'm sure you could do it scientifically, but also just diet, right?
Well,
just calories in, calories out.
The liposuction, right? When people remove fat from their body, the only issue that I've heard about that, and once again, you're doing a treatment that you're not changing your lifestyle. When you get fat again, the body's going to look for other fat to store it, and you get fat in other parts of your body, which is not good. The biggest issue too is, not necessarily fat on your arms or fat on your feet, whatever. People really, it's the visceral fat, the fat that they develop around their stomach, their torso, which is very dangerous for your internal organs, and it puts a huge strain on the heart. That's the stuff that they want to get rid of, not just the general, muscular fat that everybody needs. This is all excess. And if you can find a switch, I mean, it's an alternative. Listen, I'm with you. Nothing works better than the basics. But the more we learn about thyroid conditions and metabolisms, and then add to it the processed foods that it's not even like, oh, I'm not going to buy pizza from the store anymore. Now I'm finding out the dough's processed, the sauce is processed,
everything's
the cheese
processed.
Processed. Now we need some other tool.
But also, I still think that a huge part of our problem as an American society is lack of movement, right?
Yes.
Diet's one thing. Like diet, sure, of course, diet, like don't eat shit. But if you're not moving all day and you're literally just sitting in a chair, and given some people just have office jobs, so it makes sense where you're sitting at a desk all day, but you have to have some kind of extra activity. Sometimes, I don't want to be like on my high and mighty horse, but like people who sit at home after, like, go to the gym when you're done with work, just do it, just walk, but I understand that's easy to say, but sometimes you have to do the hard things that you don't want to do. Like I've been doing my walks every other night, right? So my Monday, Wednesday, Fridays late at night, but like it's the worst part of my day, but I get it over with.
Right. But you're being naive in the sense that you don't have to go home to 3 kids.
Exactly. Yeah. That I get that. Yeah.
Right. Or you don't have to get home because you've been at work till 8 and your wife is about to blow her head off because she can't take these kids anymore.
Right.
And somebody's got to come home.
Mom, are you
So,
speaking from?
yeah, really.
What are you trying to
I'm
say?
just saying.
Yeah.
So I've heard. But yeah, it's very easy to say. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
If you really have to do it, you have to do it. But chasing around 3 kids is exercise.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean,
it's not as
people.
though,
I mean, people that will literally. And unfortunately, like I know people that will done with work. Let me crush a full pizza, sit in a chair, and watch TV till I go to bed for 5 hours. Like that's what I mean. Like chasing kids is one thing and all that, but it's like, how do I put this? I don't want to sound insensitive, but like I feel like whether it's cell phones, whether it's video games, like you got to do something. I'm starting to maybe now that I'm growing up more, it's kind of like I'm seeing people. There are people that do nothing, you know.
Well, I think obesity amongst kids, they're in school at a desk all day.
Yeah.
Maybe they have gym class, and probably a lot of them get out of gym class. Then they go home, and what do you think they're doing, Chris?
Video games, eating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sitting on their asses in the basement eating junk food because mom might be working, dad might be working, or they're busy and the parents are screaming, go outside and play. With whom? There's nobody outside. Who are you playing with? A stick against the wall?
That's what I
That's
did. My mom didn't let me go outside. She trapped me in the basement.
That's the culture now.
Right.
And then they wonder why kids are obese. Well, what's motivating them? Even if they play an after-school sport, which is great, nothing wrong with that. It's a little different from our time. You're getting driven there. You get picked up when you're done. God forbid they ask you to do any exercise for little kids. Don't make them run. They might get, tired.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing to think of? You got to bring a snack. Got to bring a snack for the break in the game. Since when did you need to have a freaking snack in the middle of the game?
Or the snacks used to. Remember when the snacks used to be oranges? Now it's like, hey, here's s'mores. I'm mid soccer game and I'm eating s'mores. What are we doing?
Or how many parents complain about it? Like, oh my God, I got to bring the snacks. They go run and get something quick because, in all fairness, they have a full-time job. But when did it become a thing that you got to feed these kids when they're playing sports? You can't just play sports. Mom didn't give you a snack for football after school or cheerleading or whatever you did. So.
Yeah. I did like the snack though. I wasn't good at the sport, so I would just sit there on the bench. Coach, can I sit out this little bit? I've never wanted an orange so bad in my freaking life.
I want to run. I want to eat my snack and have my juice box. Don't make me run.
Yeah, please.
I want my juicy juice.
Yeah, no, but I will say, maybe it's because I'm in I would think that the South, I would be I have not seen one like fat kid. But back in New Jersey, every other kid was like 200 pounds. There were 4-year-olds that were heavier than me. Remember back when I worked at that YMCA camp?
Yes.
Yeah, there was this kid that was built like a boulder. You can literally roll him. It's wild.
Right.
We would do it all the time when he was in the way. You would just push him down the hall.
Said it before, and I think I said it on the podcast. The woman from South America, Mexico, wherever, talking about why her son, when we came to America, he's now obese, and she takes you down the cereal aisle. Look at this, because we don't have this down there.
Yeah.
There's 500 different cereals, and they're all loaded with sugar. Well, you can tell him no. That's a start. You can tell your son no. You can just get him bran flakes or something. But when kids have access to their own food, they're going to eat what they're going to eat.
Right.
And back to what you were saying before about Obama, Michelle Obama.
Big
She was
Mike.
pushing in school healthy foods at lunchtime. Nothing wrong with that. Problem is, when they would go to these schools, the kids were dumping them all in the garbage. Perfectly good apples, perfectly good food, because they didn't appreciate. Like you said, they showed them how to make chicken nuggets, and they still want the chicken nuggets. People want what satisfies them, not what's good for them.
Right. Yeah. Also, how easy it is to get fast food now. Like, there's a fast food restaurant literally every other store. So that's a big one. But again, hypocritically, I'll eat fast food. I have no problem eating fast food. I don't want people to think, oh, he must not eat fast food. But, I mean, I do burn most of it off because I'm at the gym so often. But again, I have the time for the gym. So.
And we've said this too, intermittent fasting, right?
Yeah, I don't eat till 2 every day.
Well, intermittent fasting is exactly what every person did up till about I'll say the 1970s, okay?
Yeah.
80s maybe. I don't know what happened, and I'm sure anybody who's an intellectual who's looked at the food production in our country will know exactly what happened. But somewhere along the line, it became acceptable to sit and eat late at night in front of the TV. That's common now. Even when I was younger, yeah, we had dessert with dinner, but nobody had treats hanging out in their house. It was special if you had cookies or something. You had it at lunch, you had it at dinner, and then you were done. People didn't graze all night long in front of the TV. And that's the advent of all these processed foods. Here's a bag of chips. Here's some cookies. Throw this. Oh, we didn't have microwaves either. Throw this in the microwave. So intermittent fasting sounds so ridiculous. Everybody did that.
Mom, do you remember a lot of what like prepackaged things growing up? Like how do I put this? Like you know how nowadays there's like you could put a whole. I'm trying to think of the word. Well, I guess pre-made meals is one thing, but meals is not so much. But they make like pre-made desserts where you just kind of throw it in and it's made, like an easy bake oven. Did they have those back then, or were those pretty rare? I know I make it sound like you're 80 years old, but
No, to your point, I think they had maybe one or two you put in the oven.
yeah.
And maybe it was, like I'm going to say, Stouffer's was one of the first pre-made food companies that I can think of. But not really. We had maybe Twinkies and we had candy and stuff when we were younger. But there's people who joke about, yeah, we drank Kool-Aid. It's pure sugar. But we ran around all day as kids. We didn't get obese. We could drink that stuff because we were never home. We weren't sitting in front of a TV. You weren't allowed to. You were out after school. You ran until the lights went, till dinner time. Then you got called and you went in and you would see all the kids go home around dinner time. And then after that, you didn't go out. You did your homework, whatever. And there was no eating.
Right.
You went to bed. So, it was just like, now all of a sudden, let me go get a Twinkie. Let me get this, let me get that. Nobody even, and I can remember my mother because we started to do that later on. Kitchen's closed. That's all she would ever say. If she could have put a lock on the fridge, she would have. The kitchen's closed. No more going in there.
Well, that's like Dad's mom, Grandma, right? It was they at the time they couldn't even like you go to the store get all the stuff for the month, and if they ate everything in the first week, they were screwed. That was it. So it kind of worked out, but that's why my dad, that's probably why Dad's not that into sweets, but. I mean, then again, you've seen Dad with his mocha chunk, whatever the hell it's called. I'm like, Dad, did you just eat a gallon of ice cream? Like what? Yeah.
But no, and that's that generation, they or that specific way of doing it. All of them have learned to ration their food because they very.
But also, Dad made it sound like walking to school was like walking through D-Day.
Everybody does that. Everyone thinks their generation had
the blizzard on the hill, Dad.
Well, you used to talk to me about intermittent fasting all the time, and my first reaction was, oh, that's crazy. Why would you do that? But then over time, I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, you know what? Stopping eating at 8 o'clock at night or 7 at night and not eating again till 8, 9 in the morning, and you even go longer than that. I'm like, but that's what we always did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't eat stuff at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. I was usually in bed, or as I got older, I just would never think to do that.
The one that always kind of gets me is, right, they used to say breakfast is the most important meal because it's energy, whatever, to get your day started. I've never had a problem with energy not eating breakfast. I've never noticed whether I eat breakfast or not if I feel better or worse. Ice cream is in the dairy food group. I don't think that's how that works. Someone said, hey, ice cream is in the dairy food group. Don't know if that counts. It's milk, but
cream and milk.
But I think the amount of sugar in there kind of defeats the purpose of it being part of the dairy intake. And that's coming from a guy that'll eat pints and pints of Ben & Jerry's. Yeah. Well, not anymore after their I haven't touched Ben & Jerry's after their big woke ass. I'm not doing what the president says. Ben & Jerry would be rolling in their graves. I don't even know if they're still alive.
Oh, you're crushing the company. Chris Catucci's
I won't take an endorsement, but I will take a sponsorship. Please, for the love of God.
I'll start eating again.
Your s'mores is delicious. Please.
Yeah.
I will switch sides for Ben & Jerry's.
I was having a conversation with somebody who's been battling weight, and I said, we're so conditioned to think we have to eat every 2 hours. If you're going to an event, people have to have food because people are going to be there for 2 hours. Yeah. Where is it written that the human body has to eat every 2 hours? It doesn't. I mean, maybe you could say there's something healthy if you do a lot of small meals.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Think it to the point where people panic now if they can't get food, right? Like, oh, what are we going to do? We're going to be in the car for 4 hours. We have to stop at lunch. We're going to stop, blah, blah, blah. If you're hungry, you stop and you eat. But to think
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I remember in college, I don't know, I don't think I've ever told you this story, but there was this kid that he was a big dude, like kind of like heavy. He probably built like a lineman,
Yeah.
big, heavy, and want to lose weight. And he was doing that. He was doing multiple meals a day because some people you can do it that way by keeping your
Yeah.
metabolism up. But I remember he was like, I forget who said it. I don't remember who was there, but uh, he's doing this for at least a month. He's like, man, I'm not losing any weight. And everyone was like, how much are you, like, you're supposed to be doing 5 meals. And he would show us one meal. It was like a full dinner every time. And
Oh,
he's
God.
like, everyone was like, you realize like that's not how this works. All you're doing is just eating a bajillion calories when in
Oh,
reality you're supposed to eat a little bit just to keep your metabolism up. That's a very hard way of doing it. I've never liked doing it that way. I've actually never. I tried once for like a couple weeks and I was like, this sucks. When you're eating that many calories and you're trying to manage, so each meal is like 250 to 500 calories, and you're like, oh, that wasn't enough,
Well, but
and you're just
there's
miserable.
degrees too, because somebody like you get like there are people get headaches if they don't eat regularly.
If I don't eat
And
for 5 minutes, I get a headache. I just plow through
well,
it.
but it's one thing to get a hunger headache, which you've had them. For some
Oh, all the
people, it
time.
gets so bad that it's not worth the risk, and they'd rather eat something. But you don't need a full meal. You eat something small, crackers, whatever.
I will say my mood changes when I don't eat. Like when I'm on a fast, like if I'm doing a full day fast, I definitely feel it where I'm like, but I wouldn't say I get like migraine level headaches.
Well, some people can get, especially women with the hormones and everything else. If you throw into the mix eating, it can cause that. But like I said, we've conditioned ourselves to think, oh well, I gotta have a meal. I gotta eat something right now. Maybe it's you need water, or maybe it's something. No, we've had this discussion. It's
Just
just
drink
more
some
the.
goddamn water, women. Please.
But it's just our whole culture has changed around food, exercise, and everything, and not for the better.
Yeah.
Add to that, we've been lied to with the processed foods, or we've been
Ozempic. Yeah.
poisoned.
Start taking
Well, I haven't gone down that
Yeah.
road yet.
Well, I'm taking it the other way. Like, oh, you don't need to exercise anymore. Just take Ozempic and your life will be fine. Yeah, take a diabetic drug for the rest of your life. Tell me how that goes.
Well, and I'm telling you, it's a quick fix, and I understand with the morbidly obese why they would need it in an
To help,
emergency.
yes.
But I'm waiting for the other shoe to fall on those.
It
It's
will.
too good to be true.
Yeah.
It's too good to be true. People are gonna, unfortunately, they're on it for life in many cases once you start, and you're screwing around with your metabolism and your sugar
Glucose
levels and
levels,
whatnot.
yeah.
Right, when you're healthy. To me, to do something like that, it has to be so monitored by a physician, and you have to do blood testing and keep constantly checking. They're not doing that. They're like, oh, here it is in the mail now. Take the pill. And nobody's really monitoring it. You're doing the best you can. So I just think, unfortunately, that other shoe's going to fall. And, it's also, too, I'm throwing this out to you, too. I really blame a lot of doctors. I think they're becoming too chicken shit. Nobody wants to tell somebody you're morbidly obese. Start exercising more and eat less.
Have you ever
People
seen
don't want to hear that. They
Right.
want the quick fix. So doctors are like, all right, here, pharmaceutical says this. It gets people off their back. They're still their patients and they don't hate them. And maybe it'll help them.
Have you ever seen? I think it's what is it, the 1,000 Pound Sisters or whatever, with the doctor? He's
Yeah.
just straight up. He's just like, you're fat. Like you do something. You're not doing this right. To your point, some people do need that kick in the ass. One thing. Do you remember? Wow, this is a name that just came back to mind. Whatever happened to this guy, Milo Yiannopoulos? Remember Milo? I don't know what happened to him, but remember he was talking about fat shaming and how sometimes like telling people they're fat works the best. Statistically,
Yeah.
it's true. It's not nice to do, but usually it kicks people into gear and they go, oh. I mean, that's how I got into shape in college. Remember? Well, actually, I don't know if I told you this story. I've told this story on the podcast, I think, but maybe you weren't here. But when do you remember like freshman year of college? I came home and I was like I was crushing Ben and Jerry's. I had like 6 pints of Ben and Jerry's in 7 days or something like that.
I'm doing that 2 years ago.
Yeah, but that was before I was exercising, and literally I was cleaning the pool, one of the pools in the house. Um, Dad was like, "Hey, you're looking a little heavy," and then that's when it switched. That's when I put on like 50 pounds of muscle in three years. I went from
Yeah,
140
sometimes
to 200 about.
it works with some people, yes. It doesn't work with necessarily when somebody's obese. They know that they're heavy.
Right.
It's not like, hey, you look like you're putting on a little bit of weight. No,
Yeah.
they're not buying that one when they're morbidly obese. And that gets to the point of a mental condition, a physical
Yeah.
condition. You can't stop, like,
Well,
and you need help.
I told you this, I think, off the podcast, but I'm a big fan of Fighter and the Kid, for those of you that know that podcast. And Brian Callen said it best. He said, 20 years ago when someone asked me, like, how do I lose this weight? I'd help you. I'd get you into shape. I'd do the exercises with you. Now he's 50 years old and he goes, well, no, you know what to do. You just don't have the discipline to do it. Like, nothing I can
Right.
show you. And he's completely right. Everyone knows what they have to do. They just don't want to do it. Or they have some excuse or some injury that's causing it. And maybe, as you said, thyroid issues or whatever. But eventually you just do it, right? You know what you have to do. It's not rocket science. Rocket science. So,
Right.
yeah. So
I will say this for those I remember with like supermodels and whatnot. Oh, they're always in shape, and I eat all day.
cigarettes and wine.
Well, and also now we know about Ozempics. I'm sure they've known about these things long
Yeah.
before the average citizen did. And speed. I mean, let's be honest. Some of them take speed and whatnot to beef up the
Adderall.
metabolism. But here's the other thing too. It's a lot easier to diet when you tell your cook, "I can only eat these things," and they create these meals for you that are low calorie and easy.
Yeah, but
right?
Mom, not everyone had butlers like we did and chefs.
Well, I'm just saying, people, don't beat yourself up. Why don't I look like, Kate Middleton? Or why don't I look
Right.
like a bunch of. This is their job to be in shape. When they talk about, well, I go to the gym, do I work out? Of course you do. That's your
Your job, right.
You get a nanny so you can go to the gym and work out because you have to be in shape. You have a personal trainer. The average man or woman can't afford that. Yeah, you can always go work out, but it's very hard when you have kids and a job and a home to maintain and everything else. It really is a struggle to find that time to go to the gym and do an hour-long workout, even a half an hour. And also, when you're cooking meals, I remember when I went to my doctor when you guys were little, and she was checking off a list of, she's a great lady, but she's checking off the list of, okay, are you eating well? She goes, right, you eat the half the peanut butter sandwich that your kid left for lunch, right?
Yeah.
So even, that's what your lunch is. You
Right.
ate whatever your kids left over, and it was usually junk, but you ate that and you were done. You're not gonna make yourself a meal for lunch or a salad.
That's so it kind of reminds me of when Zac Efron was on the Ellen DeGeneres show and they were talking about his workout and what he has to do to stay in shape for, I think it was Baywatch at the time. To your point, it's a full-time job. One, you're taking they have guys that are with them 24/7. So when people go, oh, I want to look like Zac Efron, you can look up all the videos and whatever you want. You're not going to look like Zac Efron unless you have about 30 grand to spend a month on steroids and PEDs and whatever you need. Not to mention a nutrition coach, a gym coach.
Russell Crowe was talking about Gladiator. Said, yeah, everywhere we went, we had a tent where we could work out.
Yeah.
Because we had the same shape. And anybody could use it, he said, but I came first because I had to get my scenes and all that. So like all the guys who were the soldiers in the background, if they wanted to go work out in between takes, fine. But that's their job. That's what they do. I always laugh at these entertainers. Oh, I was on the movie for 3 months. We were up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. We worked till midnight. Guess what? That's what people do every day for 30 years. They get on a
Yeah.
train in the morning, and it's the same job. You're only doing it for 3 months and you're getting paid $30 million to do it. God bless you. But I also don't want to get lectured about, oh, I'm at the gym and I got to work out and I got to do this. That's your job.
Right. So, all right. So this is a good one. 1 minute video game that can diagnose autism with 80% success rate unveiled by scientists. It can also differentiate it from ADHD. I don't even have to read this article. It's League of Legends, isn't it?
Yeah.
People who play League of Legends have autism.
CAMI.
Send it to Sprig.
CAMI.
Cammy.
Computer Assessment of Motor Initiation. You mimic someone on the screen dancing for 1 minute, which apparently all my children have autism because if you can't follow, if they can't mimic, I'm not making a joke of people. That's not nice.
Ma.
If you can't follow, but I say 80%, I get it because I couldn't do that. I don't think I could follow somebody exactly and mimic exactly depending on.
I feel like I could. I don't know why.
Well, it depends on how intricate the dance is.
Yeah.
I could do chicken dance, but so anyhow, it can also determine autism versus ADHD with 70% accuracy, which that's good. It's not really, really high, but it's good. And I think it's opening up. They say it's nice. It's good because young people would rather do that than be tested. It's
Yeah.
more fun, especially if
Until
you
you
know.
can't do the dances and you're like, shit, I kind of wish I took the paper test.
Right. Or, is it there's still that 20% that you're not autistic and you just is a terrible dancer.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true too. I just wonder, to your point, what's the level of intricacy of these dances? Like, if it's something super basic where it's like just follow along doing this, then we would see. I feel like that's fairly easy to do, but I'd love to see the test. They don't have a video here of what the test
For a
is.
reason, if it's pretty basic and you can't follow along, all right, that might be a
Right.
sign,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
exactly.
obviously. So I get that, and that's probably better to use to test a young child than giving them some
Right.
sort of boring test. Um, but
But they
you
also
know,
say that when it comes to autism, it's on a huge spectrum. So I mean, you could be a little autistic.
well, that's what I mean. I think either it's got to be a pretty basic
Exactly.
dance for them to say, yeah, all right, that's pretty accurate that the person has it. And you're right, there's extremes. I don't know that you can differentiate that well between the two things. It's only 70%, which means there's a 30% chance that you're not going to tell the difference between the ADHD and autism. And you need something other than just this test.
Someone said, "Hear me out. Members only get to watch Pancake dance for 1 minute." Not happening. Not happening. But well, so speaking of like things that you think you can do and then not do, is remember the test you made me do a couple weeks ago? The close your eyes and stand on one leg. That one.
Yes, proprioceptive. Dad's working on that. I
That
can tell
it's
you.
Listen,
You
guys,
can
it's
turn.
harder. You should give it a shot. So basically, the test is balancing on one leg is easy. Try doing it with your arms straight in front of you. Was it, or does it matter? I
No,
forget
it
what it was.
doesn't.
And then
Just close
close
your
your
eyes.
eyes. Like
Close your eyes.
you would think, oh, that can't be much harder, but it is definitely harder. Like I can do it a lot better with my. I can do it for what is it, 30 seconds or 15 seconds? It's just the
Well,
left
let
and
me
the
go
right
through,
message.
right. So going through one of these men's health magazines that you guys ditched when you left from Christmas.
Yeah.
And I looked up 50 and older. So they didn't even talk about 60-year-olds. So I looked at what's for the 50-year-olds. And your dad was coming out of he just gotten showered in his pajamas on. So he's end of day. And I said, and I'm sitting in bed and I go, proprioceptive test is very important as you get older. So I explain what that is, your left side, right side brain, and all that stuff. So I read it to Dad, and he goes, "What do I have to do?" And he can't do it. He keeps falling to the side, falling to the side. And I'm mocking him, like, "Oh my God, how could you not do this?" All of a sudden, I go, "Wait a minute, maybe I better try this." I get out of bed. Now your dad is laughing because I can't do it.
Yeah, it's not easy to do by any means. I mean, as I said, I could do it, and maybe that's because I have the hand-eye coordination for video games or whatever. But the balance part is definitely hard. I wasn't falling over, but I definitely my right side is way better at it than my left side.
Well, you're younger.
Yeah,
It's something that
perfect
you
genetics,
lose.
ma.
No, I'm just saying it's something you lose as you get
Right.
older. And that's why they say for the 50s. They didn't have that for the younger
But
ages because they're assuming you people could do it or you could
did
learn it pretty quickly.
did they say what causes it to deteriorate? Is it deterioration of the brain, or is it maybe because
It
you don't
didn't,
have to?
it didn't talk about it. It just said why you want to do it because it's good for balance, it's good for this, it's good for that. Because as you get older, you tend to lean to one side or a lot of stuff. The left, right side of the brain isn't functioning as well. We start getting the plaque as we get older. There are some physical
That's true
changes
too.
in
Time to
the
get
brain.
on the nicotine. Start
And
building those axons and neurons again.
well, the good thing is you can work on it,
Hmm.
right? And as you remember the brain gym with the padding and the
Yeah, where
this
you
and the
do
that.
this and then pat. It's
Coming
not as
in,
easy as
touching
people. Well,
certain
the big one is
territories.
the one that I remember is this one. If you can do this,
Yeah,
you're
that's
good.
another one, right?
Where you have to go reverse though, so pinky to thumb. Like this is
Right.
easy. It's the other way. So start pinky to thumb, and then finger to thumb, and then go.
Right. And go back and forth.
Yeah, but see, you're doing the same fingers. See, that's how you know that you could do both. But I might be able to
Hmm.
do it. So see, I start with so this finger's
Pinky to
finger.
thumb.
Yeah, no, but other
Oh,
way.
you mean
So if
opposite
you
on
can do
each side.
both, and
Okay.
I think I
Yes.
have a little bit of an advantage as a guitar player,
Gotcha.
but
Yes.
that's how you know that you
Usually,
have good brain connections.
yes, proprioception is very good for people who play
Yeah.
instruments because you use both hands. So you're using both sides of the brain.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about. But you do a physical thing where you're supporting
Yeah.
yourself and you're doing that.
I
So
like to think
young
everyone.
people should
I
do
like
it.
to think all of our viewers right now are standing up trying it, and they're just like falling to the side. Pancake and the Cake Shop podcast made me break my hip.
It's a you take it for granted that you could do it, but you can practice it. Like
Mhm.
your dad is getting better at it, which is good.
But then my next
But you have
question
to
is, why do
do
you
it right
need it? What's it for? Like, why do you need it? Just because?
because it keeps your brain sharper,
Oh,
right?
okay, gotcha.
It's your um, proprioception. It's as you know, when you were younger, you did those exercises to get the left and the right side of the brain working and to make sure that they're working in conjunction. So that's why they have all these things, for use the left, use the right, do these, blah, blah, blah. And that's a skill anybody can use, even people who don't struggle with that. Like it was good for you just to, your brother did it too. It's a great way to get both sides of the, making sure both sides are functioning. So in our case, as we get older, you're more prone to fall. You're more prone to, slide, and you don't fall well because your body's stiffer and you don't, it's not so much a problem for dad and me now, but as we start getting older, if you don't work on those skills now, it's going to become more pronounced.
Gotcha. All right. I think we're pretty much good on articles. I mean, mine was, I had a gaming article,
Yep.
but it's fine. It's a little out of the way. But, I mean, guys, any questions? Like, you guys can throw anything out at the wind. This is where we do the, someone said, I know as soon as I get off the floor, I'm suing. Yeah, any questions? Doesn't have to be about the podcast. You guys can ask us anything. Like, why is
We
Chris
have
the
to do a
favorite child?
disclaimer now for that too. Please don't try any exercise until you get a
Yeah, do
physician's
we need to
approval.
start putting disclaimers on the podcast? Yeah, any questions
Don't
about
take any
YouTube?
investment advice from us. We are
Yeah.
not investment advisors. This is solely invest at your own risk.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, any questions? Doesn't have to be political. It could literally be any questions in general. We'll do like a little Q&A at the end like we normally do with the live ones. I know someone asked the other day about the pancake PRs, which I should have explained. I hung up I put the tablecloth of all the signatures on it. It actually looks really good. I put it up behind the table, my kitchen table.
Uh-huh.
It looks sick. I had to write some of the names on for the people that we did virtual ones with. But
Can you see it clearly, or is it very faded?
I'd like to get a better pen because with that cloth, I need like actual paint to paint over it because you'd have to look pretty close. I'd have to
Make
do
it,
it that
you
way.
can put pen.
Yeah, because that marker isn't great. I wish it was
Yeah, you need a
much,
white
much
paint
better.
pen and just trace over it.
Yeah.
It'd be a
Because
lot better.
your note is like, it looks like you wrote over it twice. So if I was to do it a third time, yeah, I feel like if I was to look at it a third time, I'm just way off. So I'd have to really do it. Plus, I realized I don't think Dad ever signed it when he did his podcast. And then I need
Right.
Uncle Jared to sign it. And then I'm going to have Tom. I'm going to have a bunch of other people do it. I saw Sam today. So I was like, yeah, Sam, you could do the podcast. He was like, we could talk about real estate. I was like, no. No one gives a shit. Sorry. But
Well, you can do a little bit of that.
yeah, I mean, I'm
People
more
don't give a
I'm
shit
more
about the stuff
interested
I
in
talk
his
about.
yeah, I'm more interested in the life stories. I don't really care about. I mean, of course you can get into that. I mean, Papa never signed it. I should have had Papa's. One day I'd like
Yeah.
Papa to sign it, and then Grandma can sign it too.
You're gonna have to take it with you when you travel, so people can.
Which
sign
is
it.
such a nightmare because that thing.
Right.
If I leave that thing, I would be so bummed. But it's literally just like I could take it off at any point, which is nice. Like it literally just dangles. So yeah,
There's
like I had to
things
sign.
you could do. You could like do a set size, right? A box, and have people long distance write what they want to say, and then transfer it on.
Yeah, that's kind of a like it's kind of a pain though, in the sense of I don't know how much space I need, so it's easier to have someone there to sign it, or I could put the names
Yeah.
on because I don't know. Space wise, I don't know how much I'm gonna need. So I like when people pick a spot and sign it rather than me
It's tough
taking
to
something they
because
do.
you're gonna do more Zoom ones.
I
so it's
know.
not-
That's why I'm like I'm gonna have to write the names myself of who was on.
yeah.
So, wow,
Well, it's better to have their signature.
no questions from anyone. Wow.
I'll just write bigger next time when I sign.
Yeah, well, I did Dave's and Jason's today because I already had the thing up, so I was like, let me write the people who have done the podcast, who like I couldn't get Papa or Dad, so I'm
I
wondering
think it's
if
Dad again. He'll probably do.
yeah, I can get Dad, yeah. Well, I hope Dad would sign the damn cloth when he comes, but
He'll sign the cloth.
yeah, but besides, I have to check. Maybe he did sign it. I just didn't notice it. Dad probably wrote so small because he's like, I don't want to
Yeah.
do this.
No. Have your brother signed it?
Yes, Kenny and Mike have signed it.
Oh,
And
okay,
Mike, of
okay.
course, Mike's signature is like this big.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
thanks, Mike.
And Mr. Greta, right? You had Bill Greta do it?
I think Mr. Greta signed it. Yeah.
Okay,
I think
okay.
he's in the bottom right. Oh, I also had to do it the long way, right? So not that way because you have signatures facing the table, like left side of the table,
Oh,
right
right,
side. So I had to do it down, which,
right.
yeah, hopefully, yeah. I'm hoping to get
And you want
enough.
to cover the middle too. Don't worry so much about the very outside because that hangs down. You want to do the middle first and then branch out. So
Exactly.
yeah.
So, um,
Somebody did that on a talk show, or was it a telethon? Any guest who was on, they had to sign the board before they came
I
out, and
like
then
that
they wanted.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. And then people got creative and they started to write stuff, put
Yeah.
messages on it. So that's kind of
Well,
neat
you
if you think
kind of do
about
that.
it.
Yeah.
But I mean, over the years, if you think about it, some of the people who signed it were no longer around, and they're legends in the business. So that thing
Right.
becomes even more valuable. Of
Um,
course, I don't know if I want that in my house.
yeah. So, like, I think the next one, I'm gonna do like once that one fills up, I'd probably do a probably not a cloth, but like a giant special paper, like a high end paper or whatever, to get all the signatures
Uh-huh.
and stuff, and then people can write on it, and
Yeah.
then yeah, so that'll be the play. Wow, no questions from anyone. I expected a ton of questions tonight, considering, but it's fine. So someone asked about the pancake PRs, so I'll set the record straight. So for those of you that don't know what a pancake PR is, it's when we do the speed runs. Can I ask? Yeah, you can ask
Oh,
any questions you want. You guys can ask. So those are the speed runs. So the rules to a pancake PR. So I set the PR. They're kind of designed to be broken, and then when you break the records, obviously you get. So two things that I want to do with that, which we're going to start doing. Um, I want to see who breaks the record, and then I'll let it sit for like 3 months, and then I'll do a video with that person on how they beat it. So only one person's done a pancake PR besides mine. So, and then obviously you get a special place in the Discord as a PR holder, and yeah, I think it's gonna be fun to do the videos. But I don't know. There's still a lot I have to do with that. I've only just been. I mean, we have over 50 speed runs now, so I still have to post the Hercules one. That's gonna be the first one for this month. I think that one comes out on Monday.
oh, Hercules.
Yeah,
Did you ever talk about that? About
I
Hercules?
told Dad about it. I didn't post the video yet. The video comes out this week. So
Alright.
yeah. But yeah, so the PRs they're fun. I like doing them, and then I hope people beat them. And then I am curious to see like someone I told you when I did the first one, Gold Creeper, who's our only pancake PR holder. It took me
Yeah.
7 hours to beat this game. He did it in like an hour. I was like,
Wow.
yeah, because he broke it. Like he purposely breaks the game. So I'd love to like do a video with the PR holder so that I can see how they did it and try and figure out like because I understand certain things that they do, but I would
Yeah.
love to hear their explanation of how it's done. So
Right.
yeah. The map on the wall, just say off limits if you don't want to say. Oh, the map on the wall, that's North Carolina behind you, right?
Me?
Yeah, the map on your wall. Someone asked other way.
Oh, oh no, we have multiple. We have Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia.
Yeah, because my parents are thinking of moving down to those states. So, mom's just taking a dart and going, Phew.
Yeah.
That's where we're living.
I'm reliving the Civil War.
Yeah,
Chasing all the battles of the Civil War.
yeah. What do you think about artificial intelligence replacing all positions in the fast food industry and the food made by AI? You want to take this one first, Mom, or what's your thought
It's
process?
just gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's
So,
gonna happen.
without going into too much detail, there's a company that I work with that is dealing with this stuff. So it is crazy. People don't realize how crazy it is or how fast it's moving, the AI taking over the jobs.
Yep.
So this company is basically getting rid of movie tellers. So like the people that sell tickets at movie theaters, like those kind of jobs, those maybe have a year left. Those are pretty much done. Now, truthfully, you've been able to do that for years. They've just never bothered to do it. That's not AI. A machine can just do that. They've had McDonald's and Burger Kings all over the world that'll do the machine stuff. Not so much AI. I would say that AI's implementations into fast food industry and other industries we've been able to do that for 10 years now at a minimum. So it's not really that groundbreaking. It's just a matter of, again, I don't think artificial intelligence is the issue there. I think it's just people are starting to realize that machines are just getting good enough that we don't need the job anymore. So AI, I'm more scared of AI in news, in media, in stuff like that, rather than the jobs themselves. But if you want to talk about the jobs themselves and the jobs being taken away, that's a different story. In that regard, it was inevitable, but you're always going to need the job of who's going to fix these AIs when they're broken. So
Yeah.
that's the AI race is just.
Let me give you perspective.
No, we're not prepared.
When I was younger and you went to McDonald's, now granted, you didn't have all the options they have today. It was still basically hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, maybe
Hamburger.
quarter pound of fries and drinks. Okay. The person at the register, who was usually a 16, 15-year-old person, normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had a pad of paper and you circled what everybody wanted and you handed that paper off and they paid for it that
Good
way.
old days.
That progressed to a computer or a cash register where they would choose, as you said, I'll take a Big Mac, I'll take French fries, I'll take a drink, and they'd have to hunt all over. That was like a 17 or 18-year-old kid, right? Okay. That's gone to, basically give me a number one, number two, like the meals are all
Right, it's all pre-made. So
right.
every
It's all in the
industry,
computer.
every industry progresses, right? No industry is going to stay where it is. So this was just a matter of time, right?
Right.
I would say that the disappointing thing is the people who are in their 40s and unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, maybe they love their job, are at McDonald's working. Like those people are going to be, why pay them minimum wage when you can hire younger kids or whatever to do the bare minimum while these machines do everything else. Like I think you're going to see a lot smaller staffs, or opposite the best will.
Burger King, all those places. Keep in mind, you needed to be much more, I won't say intelligent, but there's a different kind of teenager when I was younger than teenagers today. You had to be able to take a line of 10 people at McDonald's and know where that stuff, I mean, it sounds silly, right? But kids used to do that, okay? Today, adults are at McDonald's because they can't get other jobs.
Right.
That's why it became such a shit show. And like, that's not minimum. How can people raise a family on minimum wage? You were never
They're
supposed to
to,
raise a
yeah.
family. That was a high school kid's job, maybe college if you had to do that over the summer. It was a great way to start to learn customer service, making change, working register, cooking the food, right? You hated it, you did it. It was a rite of passage. Now it's not even necessarily adults. It's people who aren't even from this country who are doing it because they're the easiest to hire. People went crazy, like employers went crazy when, especially in California, we have to raise the minimum wage. We got to raise it to, what was it, like $20 an hour. And some of the fast food people said, go right ahead. I'll get an AI person. I'll have to pay them all. So it was backfiring on them, trying to tell people, I'll just become even more automated. Then I don't have to pay dental. I don't have to pay hourly wage, et cetera, et cetera. When did you get dental at McDonald's?
Yeah.
I mean, you were a kid in high school, but that's what it's morphed into. Once again, we go back to that regulations. You're required to do all these things, and now it's become a whole different kind of job.
Yeah, I mean, AI is going to change everything. We're just not at that point just yet. We are still in the infancy stages of what it's going to be, what it's going to change in every business, not just the fast food business. But
Yeah.
next question,
with
anyone? As we continue talking about it, you can again ask anything you want.
with the automotive industry too. They started introducing more robotics to put pieces of the car together.
Tesla can make an engine, like a full, like whatever the engine is. I call it an engine, but it's I guess the tram system in a Tesla in like 17 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
So why use the person? Everything's going to go that way.
Which is why we've talked about this in the podcast. What are all these people going to do?
Yeah.
It's a scary thought. What are people going to do? Just sit around and be serviced by an AI? What kind of life is that?
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, I'm deeply concerned for humanity in general. I mean, everybody, computers, computers. We love the computers. They're wonderful. They're great. I understand that's the progression, but I don't think people are looking at it from a big picture. Yeah, it's cute. It's great. It's wonderful having a computer. Oh, I have a robot in my house or whatever, an AI, whatever you want to call it. That's great, but now you don't have to work or you can't find a job because AI computers are doing 90% of the jobs. We all have to fight for those 10%.
Yeah. It's not going to be pretty in the future. It's next generation is cooked, ma.
Well, I mean, that's why you always have these dystopian societies whenever they do sci-fi.
Yeah.
The computers come in and, the whole society as a whole breaks down. We're not advancing.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole government body at a certain point. There's going to be there's going to be limits to how much AI you can have at a facility. They're going to put restrictions on it, I'm sure, but one person's going to hold the power like always, and then we'll see where it goes.
Well, I think the irony for those of us who believe in a higher being, that is the eventually going to be the second, for those of us who believe in another second coming of Christ or Allah, whatever, that's going to be the moment when we wind up destroying ourselves. Humanity winds up destroying itself into oblivion because I don't know where we're going with this here.
Yeah, I heard artificial. Sorry. I heard artificial intelligence is making leaps and potentially playing a massive role in the healthcare industry. Imagine surgery from an AI. Again, we have some insider information on this one, but yes, they are getting there. I have seen just videos. These AIs can do open heart surgery for the most part. But it's not so much. There's a little bit of a caveat to that. It's not so much that the AIs can do the surgery because everyone's body's different. It's not quite there yet where it's like, here's the heart. It's progenital is the word. Is it progenital where something just does the same thing over and over? Like if it's the same person, it can keep doing the same heart surgery because it's set for that person. The real cool aspect of it is you can have a guy in Europe who's the best heart surgeon in the world. From Europe, he can control a device to do the surgery in North America. That's about the extent of it. The other big one is AI when it comes to making medications. Yeah. And it has to do the actual science. When scientists struggle or they can't get something done in time, those were the original purposes of AI, to finish mathematical equations that the human brain couldn't comprehend just yet but existed. Same with drugs. Mm-hmm. So I know that's kind of a concept that most people don't really understand, but that's the whole point of these AIs was to solve problems like that, not so a kid can cheat on his homework in college.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, which is admirable, but they've also kind of given a little push with making it harder for humans to do those basic things. Let's not train humans to do that, or not train them too well, and let's see what happens. And then, we have to have the AI because humans can't do the job, right?
Yeah.
They're too stupid to do the job.
So,
I do think with surgeries, there's certain surgeries that are, to your point, an AI can put me under. They can you calculate the weight, the time of the surgery, they'll administer the anesthesia. They can put an AI doctor can put me under. Mm-hmm. Every human being is unique, and there's so many things that go into the body that open heart surgery. I think any cardiologist will tell you what I do to one person. Yeah, it might be the same procedure, but something could happen with one person that couldn't happen to another. And unless you give an AI every aspect of it, maybe we get to that point.
Like if it gets to MRIs, finding cancers, even if it's like at a microscopic level, then I would say that's where AI is for. But personally, I would rather have an actual doctor perform a surgery on me than a robot.
Yeah, although there are people who will say, but there's human error, right?
Yes, but I would also say that there's still AI error. Like we still have AIs that are not perfect. So, I mean, maybe one day, I doubt it'll be in our lifetimes, but I'm sure we'll get to that point. But even then, let's say you have an AI surgeon, you're still going to have physical doctors in there making sure that it goes right. I will say, I do think that over time, less deaths on the surgery table will happen because of AI, which is great, especially when it comes down to timing and speeds.
Yeah. And it could allow surgeons, like really, really good ones, to perform more surgeries because they don't have to do as much prep work because the AI could do that for them.
Yeah. But like, I think with surgeries, usually there's like 10 nurses in the room helping that doctor anyway. But oh, is Anthony Fauci going to jail? That's a good question. Should he? Probably. I don't know why he got a blanket pardon. I think there's going to be. I mean, he straight up lied to the people. So yeah, I would say he should. He's.
I think some of these pardons are going to be challenged.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be able to keep some of these pardons.
Yeah. Do you think he?
When that happens, I think he'll definitely be brought in to testify again.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely going to expose himself. And this isn't just a little, as silly as it sounds, this isn't just like the Biden's taking money from China as president of the United States. This was huge. This was,
This is historical. Yeah. It's a.
and it died outside of our country. This is like a mass, somebody who allegedly could be involved in like mass murder if he intentionally did things and knew better. So, anybody who's accused of that, you have to hold them accountable. You can't
Yeah,
just
I don't think he goes to jail. I think I think everything's gonna be out in the open, but I don't think he'll go to jail. I think he's just gonna live the rest of his freaking. He'll live his life, do his thing, somewhere else in the world.
I think people.
Oh, World Court. Well, I know.
We've had them.
Yeah, I know that. I forget who it was, but one of the countries said if you won't do anything about Fauci, bring him to us so we can put him through court. So I think you're right. It could be at a global level.
Well, as I said, if I lived in another country,
I'd be pissed, yeah.
if I heard this going on, they have a right to say this man caused or allegedly caused mass murder in our country by his he wasn't even negligent. They think, or they're alleging, that he knew what was going to happen with this.
Right.
And I tell you, Kennedy was talking about the stuff that this guy did I have a soft place in my heart for foster kids. Just the concept.
Oh, yeah.
And experimenting on foster children. I mean, if this is true.
And
I
dogs.
guess there is truth. Well, the dogs too, we're dog lovers. But as bad as dogs are, you're taking children with no parents, nobody looking out for them, and you're experimenting on them? I mean, if that were to be true, then you leap fast forward. I mean, this clown's moving into, if it's true, Dr. Mengele territory, where they experimented on the Jews and the Nazi killers. I mean, what's the difference between somebody like that just because he dresses nicer and has an email account? I mean, we really have to investigate, let's say.
Tash Patel, get in there.
Well, that's FBI. This is more of
but
Robert Kennedy.
I want Cash Patel looking into everything, mother. Everything. What do you think about Bill Gates and his connections to the farming industry in America and trying to create lab-grown meat? Can I tell you something? I have a problem with, like, I forget if it was CNN, MSNBC, or one of these. They're doing interviews with Bill Clinton. Bill Gates. Sorry. We know he went to the Epstein Island, and they still treat him as if nothing happened. Like, we know he's been there multiple times, and they still. If I were him, I'd be so far out of the limelight. But okay. So first off, there's a lot of things that the Gates family and foundation does that is very sketchy. Like when he was buying up mosquitoes and everyone was wondering why the hell are you doing that? And it turns out he was like trying to move tainted blood with the mosquitoes. I don't remember the full story, but I'm pretty sure. Look into that one. I'm 99% sure that that's accurate. He was trying to move. Basically, he was trying to put COVID vaccines into the mosquitoes. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like not a conspiracy. He tried doing that. Yeah, he thinks he's
doing it down in other countries, and they claim, we're going to help these people, so we want to test it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you going to contain those mosquitoes? Don't go all over the world. Right. But he's an individual. I can't speak for the wife. I don't know her that well, but my take on him, he's just one of those people.
Mom, are you saying you met Bill Clinton or Gates? Is that what you're saying?
No,
the way you said that made it sound like I don't know his wife too well.
No, I mean, I haven't read too much about it. He's not as well published,
right?
As he is, but he's one of these individuals that thinks he's convinced himself he's the smartest person in the world, in the room, and he's going to tell you what's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's his goal. He's borderline another one who feels like humanity gets in the way of progress. Well, who the hell are you? You made your money in a computer system, okay? And there's some question as to how much he was really involved in that too,
Right.
in terms of the creativity of it or the actual creation of it. Not knocking him, living the American dream, that's fine. But get the hell out of
Yeah.
my food, get out of my medical. What gave you the
And,
right to decide that you could just go in and go to a country and decide you're going to try things on people?
yeah, when you go into the details of their investments as the Gates Foundation, it's a sketchy background. Like when you look at
Yes.
some of the investments and you're like, what the hell? So I would say that I don't trust the Gates Foundation very much. And with some of the stuff that he's been doing, it's very strange. The lab grown meat. I mean, we had the Whopper Impossible burger, like the Impossible Whopper. And I think they found some links to certain diseases and stuff to it. So I think that's why you don't see it as much anymore. They don't promote it. But then I guess the next question is, how bad is that compared to just a regular Whopper? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Stuff like that I don't care about. For me, it's more so the other things like the mosquitoes and stuff. One thing that was pretty cool that he did was the instantaneous water, like sewage water to clean water. It's stuff
Yeah.
like that that's pretty cool. But then the rest, you're like, man, this is a little weird.
Well, I think instead of starting with wackadoodle things like, prefab meat, why don't you use your money and your connections and intelligence and go to some of these third world countries and work with the people in India of how do you get basic sanitation in some of these really bad areas? Start
Are you
with that stuff.
are you trying to say India is a disgusting place, Mom?
I mean, there's so many people, they don't have the
Yeah.
infrastructure in some places, and places in Africa. That's why I say, we don't have a problem with meat here.
Yeah.
Maybe we eat too much of it. So maybe let supply and demand. If steak becomes $50 for one little steak, guess what? Americans won't eat as much of it, and maybe that's a good thing.
I do
Okay?
think factory farming is a little crazy. I think we do have to. I think there's better ways of doing it, but I get it. At the same time, you have a lot of mouths to feed. But
But come up with a better system.
yeah,
Irrigation, how to work the land, how to do. Why don't you spend your money and time on that? Well, that's not exciting. Nobody wants to do that. That's not, oh, I'm going to get the Nobel Prize, whatever. I just feel like they're dabbling in things that I don't need them doing. We
right.
have a food source here. We're very fortunate, and you know, why can't they have cattle in Africa if you make it more um, humid and more arid so that they can graze? And that would be impressive if you could make a difference in some of these. But there's a lot of politics involved. And you don't want to do with that. You have
Yeah.
to pay off so many people to do it. So anyhow, I just laugh at some of the shit the guy comes up with. I'm like, we've had more problems with people, not just him, but fixing things over the years, trying to change nature, and they wind up causing more trouble.
Right. Any other questions, anyone? Any YouTube questions, politics questions, other questions? We'll give it a couple more minutes. We just did like 2 hours, at least.
Yeah. Yep.
It's funny. It goes by a lot faster when we do them live. But I guess it's because we have people talking to us. But
We usually don't do 2 hours when we record,
Yeah.
right? Like an hour and a half.
I feel like I could keep going.
Maybe you can.
Yeah.
Some of us have other things to do.
Wow. Too bad Kenny and Mike couldn't be here. We should have made. If Kenny's like, I'm gonna get a camera. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna get a camera. Sure.
Yeah, sure. Well, maybe he will.
Do the 4-way podcast.
Yeah, it'd be kind of neat. Something different.
Mike doesn't say a single word the whole time. Do you think a major airline disaster will happen anytime soon? A major plane the size of an Airbus or a 740? I don't know, man. The way that these planes are going down right now, I think Boeing has a problem. I mean, they've been talking about the neglection that these plane.
Neglection?
Did I just come up with that word?
Yeah, you just made that up.
Neglection.
Wow.
I'm sticking with it. It's the act of neglecting something. Neglection. There's no way that's not a word.
It's not a word. It's just the neglect. It's just the neglect.
The neglect.
No, Chris.
I'm making it work. Neglection.
You can't make it work.
Oh, neglection is the act of not giving enough care or attention to something. Boom!
Come on.
It's a word.
Don't
Neglection.
believe in people. Neglection.
Is
I have
neglection a
never heard
word?
of that.
It's yeah, neglection is borrowing from Latin. Mom, you learn something new every day from your son. Neglection. Look it
Okay.
up.
I am looking it up. I apologize. It is a word. That sounds like so made up by you. Neglection.
Boom! I'm gonna start using it every day.
Okay. All the
I'm gonna
time.
use it every day.
Neglection. The
The
state
neg-
of being negligent or
oh my
negligence.
god! You know when you just get to a you know when you just get to a brain level, mom, where you just start
Yeah.
coming up with words that are already in the dictionary. You never
No,
even
but when
see.
you shock yourself, that's really not yours.
um, the amount of neglect that's happening with these major airplane manufacturers like Boeing, for instance. I'm not surprised to see these goes down. It's a little weird that we've had 4 in the past week, but yeah, I
Yeah, but
mean,
some of those are on big planes.
yeah.
The one in Philadelphia
But
was a
who
small
made
plane.
them?
Yeah, well,
But yeah,
I
I mean,
I
shit
think it would
happens, I
help
guess.
if we straighten out like the air traffic controllers or the people running these things,
Yeah,
and you have to remember too, there are more people in the world, and people travel more, and the cost of flying is attainable for more people. So you have more planes out there. You have helicopters now. So it's like anything else. More people on the road, more chances of accidents.
right. All right, guys. I think we can end it there. We got anything else? I'll do like a going once, going twice for like a minute, and
And
then we can
questions?
wrap
Okay,
it up.
questions?
Yeah,
Quite a few,
yeah.
especially about my maps.
Yeah, I haven't. Everything's pretty. I've been running around all day, so um, I don't know where I was going with that.
I have no idea.
I just wanted to remind you I've been running around all day. Maybe make me
You're in
some.
a state of neglection.
Yeah, in a state of neglection. I guess that's my way of saying I'm a little tired. Yeah.
You let people go now? You still waiting?
Yeah, I guess it's been a minute, so I guess there's no other questions. So we can wrap it up there. Another 125 done, Mom. 125 podcasts. We're catching up.
125 on to 125.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That.
Okay.
Now I'm
Whoa.
gonna make me some chocolate chip pancakes. I'm excited.
Don't tell grandma she's going to want a lottery ticket with the numbers 2, 1, and 25 in it.
Oh, here's a question real fast. It's not so much a question, but we talked about this last time. Have y'all seen any car-sized drones in the sky, skyline, folks, or in Jersey? Well, we talked about this on the last one. Remember where that was like the biggest news in the country, and then all of a sudden it was just forgotten. They did talk about that in the what's her name? The new press secretary was like, yeah, no, apparently the Biden administration knew about it, but they just decided not to tell you. Yeah,
Well, I think they're just training.
no
We were
problem.
told they were just
All natural
training
thing.
type. I am in Bedminster. I think we've talked about that before, which the president has his golf place nearby. And he talked about having them here. The funny thing about New Jersey is it's cold right now, but Chris could tell you we don't get a lot of stars at night. It's a lot of cloud coverage, sometimes a lot
It's
of
just
smog.
desolate and depressing.
No, it's not that. But you know, maybe in the summer you'll have a clear night so you can see drones and stuff. That's why all these people talk about all these drones, and for a while they're all on neighborhood watch. I'd be getting a notice every day. I just saw these 3 drones in Bridgewater and blah blah blah. I never saw one in my backyard. You would think Bedminster's not that big that at some point I'd see one, but I'm also not out there looking for them. So I can't tell you that firsthand when everyone says in New Jersey, oh, we had all these drones. I don't know anybody who's seen one personally. Not that I know that many people, but you'd think, what are we, 2 square miles our town, 5 square miles? You'd think I would have seen one at some point, and I really haven't.
Yeah. So. All right, guys. So we'll end it there. The only things I have to promote. So I did I don't even remember what videos came out this week. It feels like forever ago. Hold on. So we had the podcast last week. Let me just check. My internet's right here. I might as well just freaking check what I posted. I guess because my schedule's been so off this week. I was supposed to post a video today, but I have to push it to tomorrow because I was too busy fixing someone's computer. Where am I at? Yeah, so this week we had the podcast with you. On Wednesday I did Mark of the Deep, so go check that out if you're into an indie game. And then tomorrow I'm going to post another video. Then I'm going to start posting the speed run. So I'll send you and Dad the Hercules speed run where
Okay.
you can watch that one and you go, oh my god, he did it. And then just besides that we have this podcast.
26 years.
Yeah, it only took 29 years or whatever it was. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I gotta do some recordings tomorrow. But yeah, so social media, promo codes, stream links, Discord down below, and we'll see you guys next week, hopefully with a guest. But we'll see. We'll see if we can get her. So, all right. Laters, guys.